Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Welcome in to the Buck Rising Show the way that we like it, with no Buck Rising, at least until the noon hour, when he checks in with updates from joint practice, which is well underway and really only has about 30 minutes left down in Atlanta, or outside of Atlanta. Flowery Branch, where the Titans and Falcons are in the midst of team drills. I'm Lucas Panzica, Robert Walsh, and I with you until 1 o'clock today. Joint practice happening today and tomorrow ahead of preseason game number 2, Friday night, Titans at Falcons, as we get another look at Cam Ward. We get another look at this first-team defense that at this moment in time seems to be having some issues against Michael Penix in the passing game of the Atlanta Falcons. We will keep you as updated as we possibly can from joint practice. There is a limit on what you can consume digitally in terms of the videos coming out or lack thereof, as the Falcons are sticking to a very strict 90-second policy. No accredited media member can put something out, whether it's press conference, highlights from practice, or ladder drills. No accredited media member today or tomorrow can put out more than 90 seconds of video combined per day. So that might explain why you haven't seen as much as you typically see from a Titans practice. We're going to do our best to keep you informed with what's happening. And at this moment in time, like I mentioned, seems like Michael Penix is having a good practice. Seems like the Titans' pass defense has struggled to affect the quarterback and struggled with those downfield balls from the second-year quarterback. Does sound like the Titans' defense has had some success stopping the run. I don't believe T'Vondre Sweat is out there. We'll get an update from Buck later on today. I do believe Jeffrey Simmons is. Here's a tweet from Gentry Estes of the Tennessean. The Titans defense has had its hands full so far with the playmakers on the Falcons offense. A couple of very nice deep balls by Penix that beat Gray, and then Amani Hooker for touchdowns. And Nick Suss has summed it up pretty succinctly 5 minutes ago. Suss also of the Tennessean tweeted, technical review of the first hour of Titans versus Falcons. The Titans are worse than the Falcons. Haven't seen a ton of Cam Ward updates as of yet, and we will give you those as soon as we get some, because now the challenge for Cam Ward is to start stacking weeks, right? Last week, he started stacking days. 2 weeks ago, he hit some speed bumps. We saw those rookie moments in practice. We saw the interceptions, the tip balls at the line of scrimmage, back-to-back days of less than ideal practices, the infamous Sunday practice where Brian Callahan lit up the Titans offense. But since that Sunday practice, Cam Ward hasn't thrown an interception in practice or in a preseason game. Seems like his grasp of the offense is growing, and he started to stack days. Now it's time to stack weeks, and he's doing it against a Falcons defense that isn't going to throw as much at him as the Bucs defense would under Todd Bowles, but has playmakers for them to deal with. Has good players up front, has a young core of pass rushers that I think will test the Titans' offensive line a little bit as well, and has a couple of star defensive backs, including A.J. Terrell, who apparently Calvin Ridley did get the better of in some one-on-one matchups. So we will keep you as updated as we possibly can. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. You can also dive in on the F&M Bank chat, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Robert Walsh, how different would you describe the Falcons' defense and the challenge it provides to the Titans versus the Bucs defense?
That's a good question. I think it's more about the Falcons have a lot less veteran leadership than the Bucs do. Like we talked about the Bucs being a really good sign and develop team. The Falcons kind of have pieces of leadership. A.J. Terrell, they went out and got the pass rusher slipping my name. We were talking about him in addition to James Pierce and Jalen Walker this morning. Played for the Commanders last year, averages 8.5 sacks a year. Why can I not remember this cat's name? But either way, signed him in free agency. So they have a lot of young talent on defense. Most of their offense is kind of that draft and develop.
Oh, Leonard Floyd?
Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Leonard Fournette, and that was not the correct name. But I do think that they have a lot of young, promising talent that would be at least a good opportunity for the offensive line the Titans have fielded to show something against. We were talking about it not being as big of a challenge as the Tampa Bay defense afforded them. But I I do think it's as big of a challenge, maybe just in a different way, especially with Jeff Ulbrich and a defensive-minded coach like Raheem Morris. I think that they would be able to do some things schematically that would challenge them. And we talked to Nick Holtz at training camp, and that's what they're looking for, right? Everywhere they go, they're looking to have trial by fire in these situations. So while the Falcons on paper may not have the defensive talent that the Bucs have, I do still think they provide a unique opportunity to challenge this Titans offense.
Yeah, and Cam Ward was challenged last week in Tampa. It was only 1 day of joint practice compared to 2 down in Flowery Branch this week. I feel like Cam Ward passed the test, we'd say, last week against the Bucs and the reps that he got in against that defense and what we saw, again, bouncing back from a slow start, which kind of went similar to that Thursday joint practice in Tampa, had the early interception to Hassan Reddick. Cam settled in, had some success in some red zone team drills. On Saturday night, 3 and out to start things off. Then he settled in with the offense, led a touchdown drive, did a lot of things that you like to see. Wasn't perfect. We understand that. But can Cam Ward start to stack weeks? In fact, we didn't get to this audio, but Brian Callahan, speaking on Sunday, wrapping up the Titans-Bucs game, summed up Cam's performance and where he is currently at in his training camp development.
First Cam. There's definitely Cam certainly hasn't arrived yet. We got a lot of things still we're working on. I thought it was a good start for him. Encouraging, it was productive. There's a couple of things that we're going to keep kind of grinding on. I think still working on getting the ball out fast, still working on the timing part of it. I think it was good to feel some live action there to feel what that feels like for real. But overall, pretty good. But there's certainly plenty of things that we're still working on with Cam. So that process is still ongoing. As far as the backup quarterbacks go, I think some of it was circumstantial. I thought Brandon did some good things. He gets an unlucky tip ball, which is looks bad on the stat sheet, but he did some stuff that was about in line with what I expect of him. And then Tim got put in a bit of a tough spot, especially at the end there. We go down 2 scores and we're trying to drop back and throw the ball a bunch, and I didn't really want to get to that position, but put him in harm's way probably more than you'd like to for a preseason game. So, but they both got to get better. They both got to do things better. And good thing is we got a lot of weeks here still to go, and that's one opportunity for them, and we got 2 more coming up.
That's Brian Callahan talking about the quarterbacks from Saturday's preseason opener in Tampa. Speaking of the quarterbacks and Tim Boyle, he is no longer a Tennessee Titan. Transaction yesterday, the Titans have terminated the contract of Tim Boyle after a 0.6 rating on Saturday, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 that closed out the game. And they have brought back an old friend in Trevor Siemian, who is once again a Tennessee Titan. So Trevor had a cup of coffee here 2020 during the COVID year. Trevor Siemian was here. Since then, he's bounced around with the Saints, the Bears, Bengals practice squad last season, a little bit with the Titans also, and he is back in Tennessee. 33 years old, Trevor Siemian. So,
but unlike Boyle, he has actually had a winning season or won a game in the NFL. Do you remember his sophomore season?
With Denver.
Yeah. But they were 8-6 with him.
I mean, he started damn near the whole season.
That wasn't 2016, but still
happened.
It did happen. You cannot say that for Boyle.
In fact, I'm trying to remember, the Titans played the Broncos that season. I'm trying to remember the result of that game. I don't think it was that dreadful shutout. It might have been.
Titans win 13-10, December 11th. Trevor Siemian, holy crap. 35 of 51 for 334 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Mariota, 6 of 20 for 88 yards. So it was probably a slugfest.
Oh, man.
DeMarco Murray, 21 carries, 92 yards, and 1 touchdown. Yeah. And the leading rusher for the Broncos is an all-name game guy, Justin Forsett.
Wow.
6 carries for 17 yards. They could not get anything going on the ground.
Titans defense won the day in Denver on that one. So it wasn't, I was getting mixed up with the game where the Titans went up. That would have been, I want to say 20, when the Titans started 2-4, 2019, the dreadful shutout loss in Denver. Might have been Joe Flacco quarterbacking the Broncos, right? Joe Flacco had a moment there with the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah, that was his initial stop after being jettisoned from the Ravens.
Yeah, that was the game that officially ended the Marcus Mariota experience in Tennessee. Keys to Tannehill, the rest is history. Anyway, little trip down memory lane. So Trevor Siemian is back on the Tennessee Titans. He's the third quarterback. And if anything, like, again, we talked about the Tim Boyle stuff yesterday. Does Tim Boyle's performance in a preseason game have any impact whatsoever on what the Titans will do in 2025? No. The third quarterback will have no impact whatsoever on what the Titans do in 2025. What it can do is provide more opportunity for guys like Xavier Restrepo and Josh Wiley, guys that are kind of, for lack of a better word, toiling at the bottom of their respective depth chart right now and don't look like they have much of a path to make this roster at this moment. Maybe someone like Trevor Siemian working with the threes at practice can elevate those guys a little bit more to get them an opportunity, whether it's here or, in the case of those two players, more than likely elsewhere. A couple other transactions as the Titans have activated Lloyd Cushenberry off of PUP. We knew that this was close. Brian Callahan said last week that he was hopeful that Lloyd would return to practice this week. By the way, happy birthday to, can we wish Titans center Corey Levin a happy birthday? Happy birthday, Corey Levin, who has been fantastic as a backup center.
Now go back to the bench.
But unfortunately, Lloyd Cushenberry seems like he's getting back into the fold here, and we'll see how slowly the Titans work back Cushenberry. But I do feel like we need a moment here to just take a step back and admire the return to play by Lloyd Cushenberry. For an offensive lineman to go through an Achilles injury in mid-November, and Cushenberry quickly after the injury said, "No, I'll be back by training camp." And you respected that mentality, but understood how difficult that path would be. For him to be back on the practice field after the first preseason game, 3 weeks into training camp? Hat tip to Lloyd Cushenberry, who somehow made his way back before the cornerback that said 2 months ago he's as healthy as he's been, and L'Jarius Sneed, who remains on the PUP list.
Speaking of... I don't even want to give away. I just want to tease it. We have a practice update from Teron Davenport where a Titans player may have suffered a minor injury. We can tell you more about it in the next segment.
All right, we'll tell you that next on 104.5 The Zone.
It's time for NFL training camp headlines. I guess joint practice headlines with Lucas Panzica.
The old injury tease. It feels a little cruel, doesn't it? To go into a break saying, a Titans player limped off the field. We'll tell you who it is next. It was Brandon Allen, the Titans backup quarterback. Teron Davenport tweeting 8 minutes ago on a coverage sack by the Falcons. Brandon Allen did not get taken to the ground, but he started limping after the rep, and he came out. Trevor Siemian came right in, and Brandon Allen went inside. So, I love that we have the MSNBC music rolling. Let's roll it through the whole segment, see if people get sick of it. We don't get much feedback on the MSNBC music headlining our headline segment. F&M Bank Chat, let us know. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So, Brandon Allen heads inside. Again, this comes right after the Titans let go of Tim Boyle and bring in Trevor Siemian. So, we'll see if anything comes of that. Not a lot in terms of Cam Ward updates so far in joint practice. Buck did just tweet that Cam Ward had a nice ball rolling to the left, completed to Calvin Ridley while under some pressure. He was almost intercepted on the next play by Jesse Bates on a ball that was intended for Alec Ayemaner. On top of that, sounds like Titans defense is having a rough day. It sounds like Drake London is having no issue getting open, as Paul Kaharski just tweeted, that Michael Penix Jr. is having a really nice day throwing the football. By the way, Michael Penix Jr. will not play in the preseason game Friday. Raheem Morris made that clear. Whether or not Kirk Cousins plays Friday apparently is undecided, but one thing is for sure, we're going to see a whole lot of Easton Stick on Friday playing for the Falcons. So that's what we've heard from joint practice, which should be wrapping up here in the next 9 or so minutes, and we will get Buck joining the show in the noon hour to give us some updates. We know Cam Ward will play on Friday, at least from what Brian Callahan said on his plan for the rookie quarterback throughout the course of preseason. Callahan has said starters will play in every game. So Cam Ward will get another chance to play in the preseason after his debut on Friday that I don't want to say was drowned out by some of the other rookie quarterback performances, but I will say that one of the headlines, probably the headline of week 1 in the NFL preseason, was impressive performances by rookie quarterbacks. In a year that, very much unlike last year, there's not a lot of attention on the rookie QBs. They stole the show a little bit in week 1 of the preseason, and none more so than Shedeur Sanders. In a blowout win by the Browns over the Panthers, 30-10 the final, Shedeur goes 14 of 23 for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 carries for 19 yards, a rating of 106.8. People are freaking out about Shedeur Sanders' performance. It wasn't perfect. He missed some layups, but you saw the confidence, and he looked better than a 5th-round pick in that game. So Shedeur has that performance. It's followed up on Saturday by Jackson Dart getting the whole first half for the Giants against the Bills and going 12 of 19 for 154 yards and a touchdown with a rating of 106. Brian Daboll saying, did about what I thought he'd do. Efficient, effective, and aggressive in the pocket. And then Tyler Shuck flashing for the Saints. Tyler Shuck, who you got to think is the guy that the Saints want to see out there starting for them this season. If you were to inject Kellen Moore with true serum, would he rather Spencer Rattler win that job or the 2nd-round pick that he was a part of bringing in as a rookie in Tyler Shuck out of Louisville? I'd imagine he'd say Tyler Shuck, and he did some impressive things against the Chargers on Sunday at SoFi Stadium. So Shuck finished 15 of 22, 165 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and a rating of 86.4. Now, the interception was a pick six, and the touchdown was a 54-yard bomb to Mason Tipton. So some good, some bad across the board for these rookie quarterbacks, but I think most of them impressed more than not. And Cam Ward didn't have the flashy Shedeur performance with 2 passing touchdowns and running around, escaping in the pocket, throwing on the run. Cam Ward did exactly what you wanted to see him do, which was conduct the offense on at least 1 touchdown drive. Cam Ward also got less time than any of these other rookie quarterbacks who all got a minimum of 19 pass attempts. Cam Ward, what'd he go? 5 of 8 on the day for 67 yards. So you saw what you wanted to see from Ward. But who is the most impressive of the rookie quarterbacks in preseason week 1? Relative to expectation going into the regular season, who flashed the most? I think we'd have to go with Shedeur Sanders, right? It feels like Shedeur has to be the guy that compared to what the narrative was about him throughout the course of training camp, that he was QB4 on the Browns depth chart, the negativity around him falling all the way to the 5th round in the NFL draft. And then you're watching that preseason game on Friday where Shedeur is balling while Dylan Gabriel is injured, sidelined, looking miserable as he watches one of the guys he's competing with flash, while Kenny Pickett is dealing with injury, and Joe Flacco is 40 years old. He's not going to play in the preseason. So Jackson Dart did some good things. Tyler Shuck did some good things. But Robert, was Shedeur the most impressive of the rookie quarterbacks in week 1, including Cam Ward in that discussion?
Statistically, I would say yes. If you look at the numbers flatly, but also we're not able to glean a ton of information away from these games because defenses are playing base packages. It's the most basic thing you can do from this. So if you really wanted to take information that you can glean from this, it would be mechanics-wise. It would be how strange do they look in the pocket. Shedeur ran back like it was college. Did you see that sack where he's having to evade run? You cannot do that.
No, we saw some of the tendencies that were concerns about him.
For me, the most impressive quarterback of the weekend, and it doesn't mean anything because we've seen so many of these guys have impressive preseasons and then not do anything in the NFL. But to me, it was Jackson Dart. I thought he threw the ball came out of his hand really well. I liked he was able to do it without having a full cast. I thought Jackson Dart was the most impressive.
I think I agree with you. And Shedeur missed some layups too. Like there were a lot of things that again, to your point, I think back to Malik Willis's preseason debut against the Ravens when Michael Irvin was shouting on NFL Network about Malik being the future because he outran Kyle Hamilton on a touchdown run and had a deep ball to Racey McMath that was underthrown but completed.
Do the holler.
What holler? The Michael Irvin holler?
Yes.
No, I'm not. You're not going to catch me doing that.
It's like, he is the greatest quarterback.
It was something like that.
I love Michael Irvin when he gets hyped up about
He was getting hype about Malik Willis. And then do we remember the great Kenny Pickett preseason?
Oh, I need to look up the numbers.
Was 2022 or no, he was drafted in 22. He sat a year, right? And I believe it was the great preseason of 2023 for Kenny Pickett. He was fantastic in the preseason. Fantastic.
So PFF has an article that came out that said he was PFF's highest rated preseason preseason by a solid 3 points. So he even got some, this is what the article says, even got some offensive rookie of the year juice right before the season started.
Yeah. So all of this stuff has to be taken with the biggest grain of salt imaginable. Yeah, it's fun to watch these guys come out and ball out on occasion. But yes, we have too much of a sample size to understand that you can only take so much from those performances. This is my question, though, because we know this is Cam Ward's team, and he's starting all season. These other 3 rookie quarterbacks are entrenched in a battle right now. None of them are QB1 at this point in time. Do we see all 3 of Tyler Shuck, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart at one point or another starting a regular season game this year? Yes or no? Instead of just doing an over-under, let's just make it yes or no. Do all 3 of those quarterbacks outside of Cam Ward start at least one regular season game?
Yes. I believe so.
I agree. That Browns quarterback situation feels it's kind of this irony that they brought in so many quarterbacks and it feels so just bumbled and discombobulated that it is setting up to be a revolving door this season, right? When you've got 2 of those guys that are already dealing with training camp injuries, another one that's 40 years old, and then there's Shedeur Sanders. Like, to me, there's a reality where the Browns start 3 or 4 different quarterbacks at some point or another in the regular season. More often than not, isn't that the way these things happen when a team just brings in a giant crop of quarterbacks? They don't have one quarterback, but they have 4 or 5 instead of having somebody and sticking with them. With the Titans, they have Cam Ward, and it just is what it is. And if we're being honest, and we've had this discussion before, who the backup quarterback is for the Titans, who the third-string quarterback is for the Titans, doesn't mean anything towards what we want to learn about the Titans this year, which completely revolves around Cam Ward. It's his team this year. But the Browns bringing in half the quarterbacks that you would name if you just closed your eyes and started naming random quarterbacks, it just feels set up for for the biggest revolving door of the quarterback position in the NFL this season.
I would need to do some more research to prove this, but I'm going to take it for what it's worth. Do you know the record for most quarterbacks started in a single season in the NFL? Most for a singular team.
Tell me.
5. Set by.
Give me a year.
Last year's Cleveland Browns.
Oh, wow.
They had Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Joe Flacco, and Jeff Driscoll. Also the 1987 New England Patriots. But
the Cleveland Browns started Jeff Driscoll in an NFL game in the year 2024.
If the internet is to be believed, which is becoming less and less reputable as it goes. But do the Browns have an opportunity to, I wouldn't say tie, because I feel like tie is too easy. Do the Browns have the opportunity to break that record this year?
So are you sure this isn't for the 2023 season?
Yeah, 2020. Oh, 2023.
Okay,
sorry,
I'm sorry.
I thought I said that. That was my fault.
This is for, you are correct. It is 2023, not last season, but 23. Okay.
Do they have a chance to break that this year? We know the names in the room: Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Huntley now, and Shedeur Sanders. Do they have the opportunity to bring in one more guy?
That would be incredible.
I would love that. The jersey, the infamous jersey of the Browns fan who's has duct tape all the way down. I just need a one season version.
You need a whole
of that.
other jersey. Okay, somehow I've missed that stat that in 2023 the Browns broke that record. But
tied it. 1987 Patriots. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. They are the team that is most set up to tie or break that record again in 2025. So we'll see what happens there. I agree with you. I think it's more likely than not that Shedeur starts at least one game this year. And same goes. Giants, if the Browns weren't doing Browns things with their quarterback room, the Giants would have the weirdest quarterback room in the NFL, right? Russell Wilson's the starter. Brian Daboll's made no bones about it. But every New York Giants fan and their mother wants to see Jackson Dart show something this year that provides that beacon of hope for the future for a first-round draft pick at quarterback. And then there's Jameis Winston, kind of in the middle of all of it, as a backup, maybe a backup that at some point will play. If Russell Wilson goes down, who starts for the New York Giants? Are you really going to start Jameis Winston over your first-round pick quarterback for a head coach and GM duo that is already on the thinnest of ice, as publicly stated by their owner, that patience is wearing thin with the current Giants regime? They are fortunate that the Browns have done what they have done with their quarterback room to mask what is also something that you look over and say, what is going to happen with this in 2025? So that's the Browns and the Giants. And Tyler Shuck, to me, probably ends up winning the job in New Orleans.
The Colts are getting weirder, though. I think as the preseason goes, where after last game, everyone else looked so bad or pedestrian that everyone is making themselves believe Riley Leonard could win this job.
Oh,
if
God.
Riley Leonard is your quarterback,
You're in trouble, man.
It is a tough. He was an elder statesman in college. I think he's one of the 25, I believe, 24. Got to be one of the older quarterbacks not named Tyler Shuck in this year's draft process.
Love Riley Leonard. Dude was a human battering ram for Notre Dame, and it got them all the way to the national championship, and he did some good things. But if you're looking at, to your point, 2 top 5 or top 10 picks battling it out for a starting job, and you're already having the discussion about Riley Leonard, then Indy might be in for a rough year at the quarterback position. What won't be rough is 104.5 The Zone's college football kickoff, Friday, August 29th at Yazoo Brewing Company in Madison. Robert and I will be out there. Blaine and Zach will be out there. 3HL will be out there as we celebrate the start of the college football season from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And while you're there, you can sign up for a chance to win Tennessee football season tickets and more. Plus, free kickoff T-shirts, glasses, and other prizes for the first 250 people that show up. To learn more, visit 1045thezone.com/events.
Do you ever think what our life will be like? Or see, you think of like a future moment, and you're like, I wonder what life's going to be like then. I wonder what life's going to be like that Friday at Yazoo. Coming into college football season, I bet the vibes are going to be immaculate.
Immaculate. There is a little bit of news while we're doing headlines. The Texans have placed tight end Brevin Jordan on season-ending injured reserve due to a knee injury that he suffered during Monday's practice. I don't believe joint practice has officially wrapped up between Titans and Falcons. We did just get a text from Buck that says James Pierce kind of sucks. So I take that to mean that the Titans' offensive line is holding up. We'll see against a young pass rushing core for the Falcons.
God, I wonder what media member was standing next to Buck when he said that.
He also said Kirk Cousins is not good. He just tweeted that. But again, when you're talking about something that requires any level of ball knowledge, then maybe Buck isn't the person that we should be looking to for these things. So we'll get updates. We're going to have players available to the media at the top of the hour. I don't know that it's going to be live streamed. Again, very strict media policies down in Atlanta. 90 seconds total of video per practice for each media member. So you're not seeing a lot of highlights. That's the reason why. And we'll see if we do have a presser to carry. I know Cam Ward will not speak today. He will tomorrow after practice, and we will play for you what we can from that conversation. Around the NFL, we'll keep it with the quarterbacks. Interesting situation with the Titans' Week 2 opponent. In L.A., Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford didn't practice yesterday after he was expected to take part at least in individual drills in his return to practice from the aggravated disc that he was dealing with in his back. So Sean McVay kind of set an expectation for Matt Stafford that Monday was supposed to be the next step in his return from that back soreness that he had been dealing with. He apparently threw 68 passes. This is from Sarah Barshop of ESPN. Threw 68 passes at the Rams facility Saturday morning. On Sunday, McVay said he expected Stafford to participate to some degree on Monday and then take it, quote, a day at a time from there. But on Monday, Matt Stafford, according to Sean McVay, had a great workout, but didn't feel good enough to throw. And the Rams didn't think practicing was the right thing to do based on how he woke up feeling on Monday. So instead, he was in street clothes, and he walked into a restorative and rejuvenation chamber that was parked next to the Rams practice field. I heard Will and Ramon talking about this morning, and Will asked Ramon if they had one of those in Pittsburgh, and Ramon's like, no, we didn't have one of those in Pittsburgh. That is a cronky money thing.
They had a pile of dirt that they would, if you were injured, you would go grab a handful and rub it on whatever injury you had.
Exactly. So this restorative and rejuvenation chamber is what Matt Stafford. It's what I'm reading straight from the article.
You know, you said chamber.
Chamber. Okay.
Where does that come from?
I don't know, man.
Rejuvenation chamber.
I thought we were done with this. I've gone my whole life. I've gone 29 years saying chamber instead of chamber.
See, no, I think we need to address this. Not just your moment, but I have a friend who also has, how do I say this? Like mischaracterization of phrases. So instead of saying like, oh, I might as well do this, he says, I might as well. Oh, mine as well. And I have never told him that that's wrong our whole life. And I feel like I need to do that, so I need to put the right forward with you. Chamber.
I can't believe we're back with the chamber thing.
You did it. Sorry, I've derailed us. Go ahead. Oh, chamber boy.
So Matt Stafford spent Monday in his little chamber. What does this mean for Matt Stafford in week 2? We don't have the answer to that. But the fact that 3 weeks out from week 1 of the NFL season, the Rams quarterback that's nearing 40 isn't feeling good enough to practice, I'm not going to ignore that. As the Matt Stafford thing was highly publicized in the offseason, the flirtation with the Giants, the Rams end up keeping him there for another ride as they were, once again, like I feel like we're going to have to keep reminding folks that the Rams were literally one play away from hosting the NFC Championship game last year. And if they had done that, in my opinion, would have been in the Super Bowl and been the team facing the Kansas City Chiefs, not the Philadelphia Eagles. It doesn't bode well, I don't think. But it's not enough for you to say that it's something that we can talk about affecting that week 2 matchup, the home opener for the Titans at Nissan Stadium. Just something to keep an eye on for Matthew Stafford, as well as for Jordan Love, who is going through a procedure, according to Packers GM Brian Gutekunst, on his left thumb, a ligament issue, according to the GM. It's why he had it taped yesterday in practice. They said the hope is for Jordan Love to return to practice next week. And reports are that he is expected to be ready by week 1. So there's all these kind of little bitty like injury notes on high-profile quarterbacks across the NFL where their teams are saying, no, it's okay. Nobody panic. But we'll see if any of this turns into something else that affects these quarterback seasons.
I wonder what kind of chamber he would go in to heal his thumb. Also, we got a request from the listener. Do you know what the second book in the Harry Potter series is called? Obviously, the first one is the Philosopher / Sorcerer's Stone.
Don't do this.
The third one is Prisoner of Azkaban. Fourth is Goblet of Fire. But I'm the second movie is just escaping me. Something secrets.
I want to keep saying it. Like the stubbornness in me wants to keep saying chamber.
The Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
That's exactly what it was. Oh, I could appreciate that. I could not remember.
Admit to me that phonetically it makes no sense for it to be pronounced chamber.
Sure, but like, what about neither does dough or though or like, you know what I mean? There's so many English words that like don't make sense phonetically. And that's the one. That's the one you're going to plant your flag in. This doesn't look like chamber.
English is a second language for me. Give me a break.
Shut up.
Do we have any giveaway for what made you say, oh, no, in sports this
Eric
week?
Clapton.
Oh, wow.
You could go see Eric Clapton.
Who is 80 years old and still doing it and still bringing it, and he's going to be where and when?
He will be somewhere, and whenever he is there, because I didn't have it pulled up directly. That's my fault.
We'll tell you where and when he's going to be, but the best submission for what made you say, oh, no, in sports this week gets a pair of tickets to see Eric Clapton. 615-737-1045. We'll do it next on 1045 The Zone. 615-737-1045. The best submission for what made you say, oh no, in sports this week. It's 2 tickets to see the blues legend, the blues god, Eric Clapton. Where and when, Robert Walsh?
It looks like he will be somewhere around the greater Nashville area. I'm still efforting.
Bridgestone Arena, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember the date off the top of my head. We'll tell you in a moment.
Bridgestone Arena, September 8th. Coming up on it, less than a month away.
There you go, 615-737-1045. Very quickly, practice update. Cam Ward has just thrown a pick, and Brandon Allen is back on the field. I don't know if he's doing any drills yet. They are still joint practicing between Titans and Falcons in Flowery Branch. We're not getting a lot of video from it, and we'll see if Buck can provide us any sort of update coming up in the noon hour. Let's go to the phones. Oh, no, but before that, we have to give our own. Look at me. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Getting excited.
John Mateer made me say, oh, no, in sports this week, or this whole situation around John Mateer. The Oklahoma quarterback, one of the most highly publicized transfers in all of college football, who goes from Washington State to Oklahoma, suddenly finds himself in the midst of some controversy as screenshots have surfaced. I saw this come across my timeline from On3 Sports, that Oklahoma is reportedly aware of John Mateer's Venmo transactions and are, quote, handling it, as screenshots from John Mateer's Venmo account have come out from all the way back in 2022 with multiple transactions of John Mateer sending and receiving money with the caption, sports gambling. Now, this seems like a bit of a red flag to me. Robert, have you ever sent anybody money for gambling purposes?
Even if I
Venmo?
did. No, even if I did, I wouldn't tell you about it.
If you did, would you make the caption sports gambling?
No, I would probably do something like pizza or thanks for lunch. Like what? What the hell are we doing here?
On November 20th, 2022, a Venmo transaction, John Mateer paying someone named Richard with the caption sports gambling. Also on November 20th, 2022, John Mateer paying the same person, Richard, with the caption sports gambling and in parentheses, UCLA versus USC. On November 23rd, 2022, John Mateer receiving a Venmo from that same person named Richard, who seems to have a profile picture that indicates he is also a Washington State football player, with the caption Ultra Sports Gambling FIFA World Cup. This seems like, I don't want to make assumptions here, because obviously if John Mateer is playing college football for Washington State in 2022 and he is making money to do so, he can't be gambling on college football. Although as I say that, I'm trying to make sure, okay, he was a redshirt quarterback in 2022. So I'm just making sure John Mateer was in college football in 2022 as a redshirt quarterback for Washington State. Don't want to make assumptions, but it does feel like something that someone would write in if they are trying to make someone look like they are gambling, is send Venmo requests with the caption sports gambling. It's a little on the nose. So we'll see. John Mateer has scrubbed his entire Venmo, and Oklahoma apparently is looking into it. But that's what made me say, oh, no, in sports this week. We'll see if it means anything for what is a very important season for Brent Venables in Oklahoma, where they're expected to make a big jump from a disappointing 6-win season last year.
Oh no. Did you perhaps get to watch the Cowboys preseason game this week?
I did not get to watch it, but I know what you're talking about.
But I'm sure you saw the clips of the sideline. CeeDee Lamb trying to be a good teammate, trying to watch the Jumbotron to see his teammate. Oh, look at, he's going to score. He's going to, as he takes a devastating tackle. I would argue that might be the hardest he gets hit all season. No pads on.
100%.
Of a referee tracking the play down the field, doing his job, and just flat runs over CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb collapses into a heap, and he gets up like, what the heck happened? As he's doing his best Mike Tomlin, trying to impede Jacoby Jones's progress on a kick return. What are we doing, CD? Like, I guess you can't be too upset at him, because the opposite of this is my star players aren't like into the game. They aren't being good teammates. So I love that he was a good teammate, but like field awareness, spatial awareness is not something that is on his side. CeeDee Lamb, you are what made me say, oh no. What if he would have gotten hurt?
I mean, the whiplash on that hit, like CeeDee is in no position to be taking a hit, right? He's not in the field of play where he's got his head on a swivel and maybe is doing, when you see you're about to get tackled, there's a certain way you're braced for the hit. He's just waving around at Cowboy fans and then, like to your point, just decked, like to the level of Mike Vrabel getting decked by that ref on the Titans sideline years ago. And I agree with you, man. It's the way he gets up like angry about it. Like he's not the one that was in the wrong place. Absolutely insane. So penalty flag. Did he get fined as well?
I think that is being discussed. So the flag was a sideline infraction. That they were penalized for, but people were talking about he would get fined. That is literally insult to injury.
You can see in the video as he's waving to Cowboy fans, very obviously standing on the sideline, a Cowboys player is running a deep route towards him. The play is coming right towards him, and this referee just bulls him over. But to get up acting like, somebody did you wrong there, get out of here.
How much eligibility do you think that ref has?
I don't know. Hey, to Brett Kern's point, yesterday, refs are jacked now, man. You don't want to be messing with these refs. Did you see the video, the mic'd up video the Titans put out of Cam Ward talking to a ref at joint practice the other day?
I missed it.
Just Cam Ward just walking up to a ref. Hey, man, you going to give me some calls today? And this ref was like, I ain't giving you bleep. And I'm a Miami fan.
Yeah, that's incredible.
615-737-1045. The best submission gets a pair of tickets to Eric Clapton coming up at Bridgestone this fall. We'll start with Ken in Clarksville up first. Hey, Ken.
How's it going, man?
Good. What you got?
My old no is Junior Motorsports driver Connor slips and falls out of the car after his celebration, which led to a broken collarbone, which also led to our hometown Trackhouse Racing's car to be withdrawn from the Sunday race. That is my old no of the week.
It's a great submission, Ken. Stay on hold to make sure that if you win, you're able to get the tickets. I believe Ken probably just stole several people's submission. This was brutal. Watching this guy get out of the stock car and then take a tumble and break his collarbone. If someone smarter than me needs to explain to me why stock cars can't have doors. Because I'm surprised this hasn't happened before.
No, you haven't asked your friend who may be named Jay? Isn't he a big racing fan? I feel like he would know.
Not so much NASCAR.
Okay.
615-737-1045. Carrie in Nashville's up next. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Great.
My oh no for the week would have been from the Cleveland Browns saying, oh no, when Travion Henderson took it to the house, knowing they picked Quinshon Judkins over him. Oh no.
Thanks for the call, Carrie.
Very
I love
succinct.
The
I love
delivery
that.
was fantastic. That's right. The Browns took the other former Ohio State running back. Man, that was electric.
And the only race he's worried about is in his car where he was driving intoxicated.
Judkins?
Yeah, wasn't that the thing he got in trouble for?
I saw that Myles Garrett had just, not for driving intoxicated, but for
maybe
speeding.
Judkins was doing something else.
Maybe. We'll
Sorry, all these
check.
Georgia players got my mind mixed up.
He didn't go to Georgia, but
No, I just mean,
going.
shit, okay, whatever.
Walter in Hendersonville is next. Hey, Walter.
Hey, well, he definitely stole mine. Appreciate the call. Might as well stay NASCAR. Bubba Wallace saying that he wants to change the white flag, and Tony Stewart wants to kill him where it's not a white flag anymore. Change that up.
Thanks for the call, Walter. I missed this. So he's saying Bubba Wallace wants to
It changed the white flag? I'm not sure. I don't keep up with NASCAR that much.
Yeah, I'll look into what you're saying, Walter. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Uncle Bob in Spring Hill is next. Hey, Uncle Bob.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Don't really have a no. Lucas, I really just want to talk to you. I was in Bellevue the other day. This is way off the subject. I was in Bellevue. Remember those dinosaurs out there on Poplar Creek Road? They've let those things go, and they've rotted. I wish I could send you a photograph. And so I'm glad I got to talk to you. Love you guys. I'm off subject. God bless.
All good, Uncle Bob. We appreciate the call.
Sometimes my aunt calls me for stuff like that. Like, hey, I watched the sports on the TV last night. Were you doing that? No, I was at home.
See, that's the beauty of Buck not being here. Open door policy. Vibes are much better. X in Lebanon's up next. Hey, X.
How you doing this morning?
Fantastic.
My oh no is why are they making it to where now athletes in high school can skip out their senior year. I'm not understanding that. In football, at least in football, they can sit out their senior year. And they're like, oh, no, like, what are we doing with the kids nowadays? Like, we're losing the value of your senior year. So that's my intake on it.
Thanks for the call, X. I guess that was the inevitable next step, right? That type of stuff was always going to trickle down when opt-out started in college football, and slowly but surely, especially as college football players start to get paid, and there are states where high school players, in Tennessee, high school players can have NIL deals. So I suppose that was the natural next step in that. It's a hard thing, X, because it's difficult to tell a player, no, you shouldn't do that for your own well-being and long-term viable football future. But at the same time, it's a sad thing to see when players give up that part of their football careers. High school football's next week, a week from Thursday. We're going to be on the air on MyTV 30 with Friday Night Rivals kicking off the season between Beach and the Green Hill Hawks. So can't wait for it and can't wait to see the players that are out there. Who should get the tickets, Robert?
Ooh, I was a big fan of Carrie, but Uncle Bob dropped off, or I'd pick Uncle Bob.
Uncle Bob didn't even have a submission.
The chat is influencing me.
I think either Ken or Carrie. Ken had the driver falling and breaking his collarbone, but Carrie had the delivery. And we do love a good delivery around here.
I don't think it can take away from the substance, though. I feel like we have to give it to Ken. It is the best submission, not the best delivery.
You're right. Ken in Clarksville, you're headed to see Eric Clapton later this year. Appreciate everybody for chiming in. Coming up, we'll tell you all the latest that we're hearing from Titans joint practice and an update on one specific position battle on the Titans roster. We'll do that with Hour 2 coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.
Introducing Premier Generators, now in Nashville, the largest certified Generac dealer in Tennessee. When power outages strike, protect your family with a top-tier generator solution. Expertly installed by local specialists, Premier Generators dedicates itself solely to generators, offering unmatched expertise, plus enjoy the peace of mind with an extended 10-year warranty. Don't wait for the next storm. They pop up more and more these days. Schedule your consultation today. Make sure you're prepared. Visit premiergenerators.com. That's premiergenerators.com. Be prepared and choose Premier Generators for reliable power solutions. Their number, if you would like to contact them that way, is 1-855-797-4766.
What's going on? 11:02. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans at joint practice with the Falcons. We will have an update from Buck Rising in the noon hour. In the meantime, a few roster moves on a Tuesday morning, including adding a pair of linebackers. The team signed Khaleke Hudson and Blake Lynch while waiving linebacker David Benda and waiving injured linebacker Anthony Orji. Hudson and Lynch, no relation to James Lynch on the Titans defensive line. Both came into the league in 2020 and have played sparingly over the time, picking up some experience. Khaleke has played in 75 games while starting 12, while Lynch has played in 29 and started 7, providing some bottom of the roster depth heading into the Titans' second preseason game. One holdout surfacing while one is seemingly over, starting with Cam Hayward, who signed a 3-year, $45 million deal last offseason, has informed Pittsburgh that he wants a new contract and has no problem missing regular season games until he gets one. On the brighter side, Bills running back James Cook is practicing for the first time after having his league-tying 16 rushing touchdowns last year. For your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Well, we didn't get him fired, but we did at least get away from him for a couple of days for him to go down to Atlanta and do nothing. It doesn't seem like Buck is doing anything down there, but watching practice, so we'll see if he has something to say coming up in the noon hour. There are limitations on what media members can do down there. 90 seconds of video each per practice is all you are allotted, and practice has wrapped up between Titans and Falcons, and just gathering everything that has come down from reporters like Buck or those that know what they're talking about, like TD, guys like that. Titans were not the better team today. Falcons got the better of the Titans, especially when it comes to the Falcons offense against the Titans defense. And Cam Ward had some struggles that he didn't necessarily run into when we saw him in a limited capacity in the preseason game on Saturday. We'll get, hopefully, more of a detailed reaction to it coming up in the noon hour. But focusing in on this Titans defense that struggled against the Bucs on Saturday, and understanding that they were without Jeffrey Simmons in the preseason game, they were without T'Vondre Sweat, they were without Kevin Winston Jr., the rookie safety out of Penn State. But all the same, Titans defense gave up over 140 yards in the first quarter against the Bucs. It's preseason, but the Bucs were out there without many starters, with hardly a starter. Titans weren't able to affect the quarterback against the Buccaneers. Kyle Trask, Connor Bazelak, whoever it was, had a lot of time Saturday in that preseason game. It was hard to come away from Saturday feeling significantly better about the state of things, especially as it pertains to the Titans pass rush. Now, one position that was wide open going into training camp on the defensive side of the ball that we've talked about ad nauseum, the off-ball linebacker spot alongside Cody Barton. Several players in the mix for that job going in. Well, 2 of those players are no longer Tennessee Titans. 2 of the players that we thought to be in the running for that job, as the team made some transactions yesterday, waiving Anthony Orji, who unfortunately tore his ACL last week during joint practice. The former Vanderbilt linebacker, former New Orleans Saints linebacker, thought to be at least in the mix for a special teams role, for a spot in that linebacker rotation. He is gone, and they also waived David Benda, the undrafted free agent out of Texas. Titans signed 2 linebackers in Khaleke Hudson and Blake Lynch. Hudson, more experienced than Lynch. He's been around the NFL, 6'2", 220. He's got 75 games of NFL experience, 12 total starts during his time with the Commander Saints and last season with the Browns. He has 91 career tackles, 1 sack, 7 TFLs, 2 passes defended, and 26 special teams tackles in his career. So we'll see how he works into this room. But I will say that was one position that was thought to be wide open, that spot next to Cody Barton going into camp. And then James Williams kind of grappled control of at least the reps with the ones. Pretty much throughout the course of camp, it's been Cody Barton and James Williams as that duo. But Cedric Gray made some plays on Saturday. Cedric Gray played a lot of football on Saturday, as did James Williams. Cedric Gray ended up tied for the team lead in tackles with 7. So Brian Callahan met with the media on Sunday and talked about both of those players, what the Titans have seen out of linebackers James Williams and Cedric Gray as that competition does continue.
Yeah, he's done a good job. I thought he set the tone really well in the opening kickoff. There was some things that he did well at the linebacker spot over the reps that he had. I thought he was productive on the ball. He had some tackles. He keeps coming along. I think him and I think Cedric is worthy of mention in the same sentence because I thought both of those guys played a healthy amount of snaps and they did some things that were really positive and encouraging. So again, in the same vein as some of the stuff that's not as good, you take it for what it is and you're encouraged by what you see in the first preseason game, but we still got work to do and we still got to keep coming along, but happy with where those guys are at the moment.
So maybe that's something that we've been premature on basically handing James Williams that starting job day one. He has looked the part without question. He has some of the versatility as a former safety. He makes plays on special teams. He's able to play close to the line of scrimmage. But after the preseason game, maybe that, Robert, a wet powder moment for us, do you think? Going ahead and handing that spot, that starting role next to James Williams, or to James Williams next to Cody Barton, and not giving Cedric Gray the time of day to see if he can make it a real competition throughout the course of camp.
Maybe not a wet powder moment, but I also see why there would be benefits to James playing more than Cedric, because linebacker is Cedric Gray's natural position, where James Williams has only had a number of snaps, games, plays at that position. So the guy who has prototypical size, everything you're looking for, it would make sense to me to get that guy as many opportunities to get better as possible. While Caleb, it makes sense to me that he is behind him. Cedric, sorry. God, I just cannot get names right today. For Gray, I think if he is going to beat him, he would need to beat him handedly. Like, it can't be close, because if it's close, you're going to go to the guy who has all the intangibles.
By the way, I will say, both of those guys, draft classmates in the 2024 draft class, that is a draft class that, as we head into year 2 of it, is starting to show something for the Titans. Feel really good about J.C. Latham right now at right tackle. Didn't hear much about the Falcons pass rushers today. Granted, Falcons haven't had a legitimate pass rush since when, Robert? I mean, since Vic Beasley, before he basically stole the Titans' money in that 2020 season. I mean, when's the last time the Falcons had a legitimate star pass rusher?
Like John Abraham?
It feels that way.
David Amata or someone like that?
So, obviously, they're going young. They drafted Jalen Walker out of Georgia. They drafted James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, both in the first round. Doesn't sound like either of those guys had much of an impact today in joint practice. Although, again, the takeaway from joint practice is not positive in favor of the Titans. Buck tweeting that the Titans very much look like a team that's been on the road for 6 days. Remember, they came straight up from Tampa to Atlanta. They did not come back to Nashville in between. He said, the Falcons hardly special, but made more plays today. That's a wrap for day one. We'll see if we get players speaking with the media at any point coming up. If it's not live streamed, then we're not going to have a whole lot to play you with that 90-second limit. Tehran says, overall takeaway from the first Titans practice today is not good. They seemed sluggish to start offensively, a lot of balls on the ground, struggled to run the ball in team period early. Meanwhile, Michael Penix and the Falcons cut up the Titans secondary. It's one practice, no need to panic, but it wasn't good today. That is from Tehran Davenport, the ESPN NFL Nation reporter for the Titans. So take it for what it's worth. It's joint practice after almost a week on the road to Bucks Point, and they'll be back at it with a chance to bounce back tomorrow. But maybe one of the positives sounds like it's the Titans' offensive line today, as we didn't hear anything about this Falcons pass rush. I do remember the last time J.C. Latham was matched up with James Pierce Jr., that 2023 Tennessee-Alabama game in Tuscaloosa, stifled him. Latham dealt with James Pierce Jr. in that game. We'll get some sort of reporting from Buck, hopefully, on if that was the case today as well. So we'll see how this plays out, this competition between Cedric Gray and James Williams. We still have to call it a competition, right? I don't think anything or anyone has been crowned to this point, especially with just how much even footing it felt like those players were on heading into camp. But, yeah, all that to say, that 2024 draft class, J.C. Latham, T'Vondre Sweat, Cedric Gray, and James Williams, who are fighting for that job. Cedric Gray was the 4th-round pick in that class. James Williams was the 7th-round pick in that class. A more developmental player, sure, but all the same. And Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who we've seen play good football for the Titans and who they're going to have to rely on this year because at this point in time, it's hard to really expect anything of L'Jarius Sneed until he shows us something. And then Jalen Harrell, Jaquan Jackson rounded out that draft class. But it feels like those players in year two are poised to help the Titans in the 2025 season. And if James Williams does win that job to have a second-year, seventh-round linebacker starting and playing good football for you is a plus. But, again, I keep coming back to that Titans pass rush, Robert, where there's this sense of urgency of, hey, man, you got to sign someone or Femi Oladejo, something's got to click.
Well, the good thing for people having those worries is the same names that we were talking about in June and July are the same names that are sitting out there. Zadarius Smith is still available. That's the guy that is throbbing a lot of Titans' hearts right now. But,
Preston Smith, who Jeremy Fowler named.
And linked to them,
as a name to watch.
As a less impactful player, right?
For sure.
But I think there are guys they can add that are Preston Smith's level. Zadarius Smith is the home run. Zadarius Smith is the guaranteed whoop ass in a can. We have a guy who can play and start the majority of starter snaps. That's the home run. If you can snag that guy, that would be great. But also, have you seen his girlfriend? He has no need. He has no need to. He's dating Cash Doll now. He has no reason to come. You wouldn't know. You're not in the culture like I am.
What is that?
She's a female rapper.
Oh, okay.
He is enjoying his off season with her. They've been to all kind of vacation spots. I don't know why I still follow him on Instagram, but he has no incentive to go sign right now. He is living his best life.
And you never want to take overwhelming expectations from what you're seeing in training camp practice. But it is okay. Like we talked about last week, it's okay to have a starting point of expectation and have that be moved by what you see on the practice field because it's all the information that we're given. And right now, it's hard to draw any real confidence in the Titans' defense or ability to affect the quarterback, which is a pretty foundational part of your defense for 2025. And it doesn't sound like practice today was a good step in that direction. Cut day is still a couple weeks away. They still have time to bring someone in. They still have time to develop Femi Oladejo, the second-round rookie out of UCLA. But right now, that is the primary concern on this team. It's not who's going to win the linebacker battle between James Williams and Cedric Gray. It's who's going to get to the quarterback this season. Is it going to have to be Jeffrey Simmons in a role that's been tweaked on the edge? How much do they rely on T'Vondre Sweat in the middle of that defensive line, who we haven't seen a lot of so far in training camp? They've got a rookie quarterback in there, Robert, but I feel like there are more questions on defense than there are on offense going into this year, right? I don't have a question about who the Titans' number one receiver is. Hell, I don't really have a question about which receivers are going to make this roster. I feel like I can tell you the main 3 or 4 guys in that rotation. I feel like I can tell you who Cam Ward's going to look to at the tight end position. I feel okay about the offensive line on August 12th. And the quarterback is showing signs that you want to see from your number one overall pick. I have so many more questions about this Titans defense than the offense in 2025.
I am the kiss of death today. Zadarius Smith and Cash Doll broke up yesterday.
No way.
So now he may need something to get his mind off of this breakup.
Hey,
she
come on
tweets,
down.
At this point in my life, I just need to be single. Zadarius is a great guy, but we can't see eye to eye. With all due respect, we decided to part ways. Getting broken up with like a team releasing you, we have decided to part ways with veteran pass rusher and boyfriend Zadarius Smith.
Cash Doll has released a transaction.
For cash considerations.
Titans need him at this point. It's hard to feel otherwise right now about this pass rush. So we'll hear more about joint practice coming up in the noon hour. 615-737-1045. But first, the AP poll came out yesterday. We are less than 2 weeks away from college football being on your televisions. Brendan Marcello of CBS Sports joins us next. One more Saturday without college football on your TV. It's my favorite touch point of the football season. NFL, college football, whatever level it might be. We get to this point where the AP poll comes out, and it doesn't matter, but it's just another indication that it's getting closer. And Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports joins us now to talk about it. Brandon, appreciate you being here, man.
How you doing, man? How are you?
We got some technical difficulties here. We'll see if we can get it figured out with Brandon. Might have to just give him a phone call, so we'll see if we get that up here in a moment. Should I give it one more go, Robert? No? Okay. I'll send you Brandon Marcello's number, and we'll try to give him a call. So apologies for that. We'll get Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports here in just a minute. He's got a cool podcast venture that he is getting together for CBS with several prominent college football voices that I think you guys should check out as we are ahead of the season. AP poll coming out just yesterday. Tennessee ranked 24th in the country. Texas, the number one team in the preseason for the first time in school history. For me, the most surprising thing you possibly could have told me when the AP poll come out was that stat. We saw some other figures, Brett McMurphy telling us, which I did not know, that Vanderbilt was the only power conference team to have never been ranked in the preseason AP poll in their history. That's the case, but Texas never being ranked number one in the preseason is by far the more surprising figure there. And that we don't get a 1 versus 2 matchup in week 1, which I definitely thought we would, between Texas and Ohio State. Ohio State, the preseason number 3 team in the country, and Penn State, preseason number 2. By the way, Tennessee just barely cracking the top 25 means the Syracuse game coming up in week 1 will be the 39th straight game where the Vols are ranked under Josh Heupel. That has not happened since the late 90s. As we get Brandon Marcello over the phone now. I think we got you loud and clear.
What's going on?
Going good, man. Apologies for that mix-up there. But I do want to start with the AP poll coming out. Like, it's this weird thing, Brandon, where it doesn't matter. And we understand it doesn't matter. And we understand we don't know how good or bad half of these teams are going to be. But number one, it is that inflection point that it's right around the corner. And number two, we learn things like Texas has never been ranked number 1 in the preseason, which was shocking to me yesterday.
Yeah, it is pretty shocking. I mean, I was shocked by that myself. And then also just, you got 6 teams receiving first-place votes in addition to that. And then also, I think this is the closest vote we've seen between the number 1 and number 2 teams in the preseason poll since 2008. And, you got a lot of people out there going, well, Ohio State should have been number 2. But even so, Penn State's number 2, and they're only 5 points behind Texas. We're talking about just 1 or 2 spots up on someone else's ballot out there, and they would have been potentially the number 1 team in the poll.
Well, and at this point, when every possibility is in front of us, right, with Texas and Penn State, Clemson, right, Alabama in year 2 of Kalen DeBoer, all gearing up for a title run, Brian Kelly, the pressure that he's under at LSU, if you have to throw out a figure on the amount of teams that feasibly, that you could come up with a scenario in your head that can feasibly win a national championship, how many teams is that for you this season?
Oh, man, good question. 9?
Man.
9. Yeah, I would say probably 9. Usually our national champion comes out of the top 10 in the preseason poll, to be quite honest. And so, but I see 8 or 9 teams in that top 11, top 12 in this preseason poll that I could feasibly see could be the national champion at the end of the year.
Brandon Marcello, our guest, at B Marcello on Twitter, national college football reporter for CBS Sports. The College Football Insiders coming out every Monday and Wednesday. You guys announced it yesterday. What's the goal here? Is you've got a great collection of personalities, of beat writers, of college football voices to pick things apart week after week.
Yeah, we just want to do something different. I mean, you can listen to any podcast and, it's all hot takes. Like, here's what I think. I think they're going to win 8-9 games. And then, meanwhile, we're reporters. We're carrying notebooks around. We're talking to sources and everything going, hey, this guy's injured right now. This hasn't been reported out there yet. This guy, there's actually a quarterback battle going on at Notre Dame. Everybody assumed that C.J. Carr was going to be the guy there. Here's what's going on with Carson Beck at Miami and what's going on with their offensive line. Hey, Florida State's quarterback, Tommy Castellanos, came in from Boston College. He's struggling in preseason camp right now. we've got intel from around the country, from talking to all our sources and everybody we know on the ground to kind of provide some intel, and then we react to it. So we're providing original information you're not going to get anywhere else, and then we're also reacting to it and kind of what it means in the grand scheme of things, but also how the people on the ground there, whether they're coaches or administrators, feel about it and how it's going to translate into the season. And that's the preseason. When the season gets going, that stuff will continue. We'll be bringing all kinds of intel, what's going on, and then, goodness gracious, coaching carousel will probably start spinning up in October, and we'll be all over that as well. So, yeah, that's kind of the genesis of it. We wanted to all get into a group, and I remember the old days of being in an actual newsroom, and there was nothing more exciting as a reporter than coming in there at night as everybody was putting their stories together after a full day of reporting, and everybody was in there like sharing their notes and discussing scoop that they got that day before anybody else got to see it in the paper the next morning. And that's kind of what you get on this show. It's all of us sitting around going, here's what we've just learned today after gathering some information, and for the first time ever, we're giving it out.
College Football Insiders, available wherever you get your podcast. So what is one piece of intel that you would say has stuck out to you the most on y'all's debut episode yesterday?
Well, the number one was that the quarterback situation at Notre Dame. I assumed that C.J. Carr was going to be the guy, but we got a legitimate quarterback battle going on there. And for a program that, as you see right now, is number 6 in the preseason poll, out of all those top 10 teams in that preseason poll, in addition to Oregon, in my opinion, because Oregon replaces so much, Notre Dame may be that team that a lot of people would be like, they might very well be outside the top 15 by the end of the season because of the schedule, but also because of what they had to replace. And hearing that C.J. Carr isn't really maybe shoot in as the guy as we maybe thought back in the spring, that raises some question marks about where they could be when the season starts, because they got some tough games even early in the year. Heck, I know, early in the season in the first month of the year, I mean, they go on the road to Arkansas, and everybody assumes Arkansas is going to be maybe average to bad, but going on the road, and as we've seen, Notre Dame has struggled early in the season previously under Marcus Freeman. That's a dangerous spot potentially.
Well, that opens the door for somebody with a pretty significant local tie, Brandon and Kenny Minchie, Pope John Paul High School, right here in our backyard in Nashville. So right now, is no news good news for someone like Kenny Minchie up there?
Yeah, he's been impressing them, and that's why there is a legit quarterback competition right now. They really like his kind of his veteran presence there and what he's been able to bring to the team. I mean, everybody just thought, C.J. Carr, big-time blue-chip guy, he's going to be able to come in there and just step in, but Minchie's really been impressive to them and is pushing for that starting job. That's a legit competition going on here in week 2 of preseason camp.
Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports with us. So, you mentioned Arkansas and that matchup with Notre Dame. It's hard to pinpoint what success is for Arkansas this season, where Sam Pittman is kind of going into a spot where it's okay, you got to show a little bit more, but they're certainly not one of these SEC teams like a South Carolina, like a Florida, that have those expectations set higher but have a very difficult path towards reaching those expectations. Is there a team in the SEC that you feel like has these lofty goals in 2025, but there's just this big trapdoor there where it feels like a playoff hopeful team could run right into 7-5 or 8-4?
I think it's Florida. All the fans down there expect themselves to be in the playoff at the end of the year because of how they finished the season last year. I mean, they had their most difficult stretch down the stretch, their last 5 games, and they did so well in that, pulling off a couple of upsets. That's what saved Billy Napier's job. Now you return DJ Lagway at quarterback. You have an incredible offensive line, a lot of great pieces on defense, and everybody down there assumes they're going to be better, and they should be better. But the schedule is extremely tough. I think they play, 6 or 7 ranked teams in the preseason poll. And then meanwhile, DJ Lagway is still dealing with some injuries. I mean, he dealt with an arm injury back in the spring, and now he's dealing with a leg issue that's kind of slowed him here in preseason camp. I mean, it's not one thing to be like, well, this injury is what's going to keep him back, but just the fact that he has a history of injuries and getting re-injured over and over and over again, that's not necessarily something that just suddenly disappears. They don't necessarily break that trend. If a player is injury prone, they're injury prone. And what happens if Lagway, the best player potentially on the entire team, the guy who's touching the ball on every snap offensively, is hurt for a game or two, or heck, just slowed for most of the season while he's playing out there. That could change the outlook dramatically for Florida.
What a roller coaster, right? With the Billy Napier experience over the last couple of years, the momentum they had at the end of last season, the way, I don't know if you had a chance to watch through the Any Given Saturday docuseries on Netflix, Brandon, but just the triumph that the way it was framed by Florida late in that season. But to your point, you look at 2025 and the thing is, it's the same schedule. Just home and road are flipped. And those results, as good as it felt for Florida and the momentum they had late in the season, doubtful that it would be good enough for Billy Napier to keep his job, right? A 7-win season in 2025.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's 500 in his career there at Florida already. And if you go 7-5, you're going to be two games above 500. You got to show some actual positive momentum and something that's going to be put in place to where if you go 7-5 for whatever reason, in 2026, you feel like you're going to have a top 5, top 8 roster in the country and be able to win. And then you have to be able to think, well, is Billy Napier the guy that can win with that roster? All he did last year was buy himself another year. He didn't buy himself a couple of years. He bought himself another year. And if he ends up having a 500 record again this season, I don't see how he sticks around. And for that matter, I mean, there's been a lot of murmurs around there about even the future of the athletics director, Scott Strickland, last season. And so they're kind of being held over this year. And there's high expectations. And, he better win. He better win more than 7 games to feel safe.
So about the same schedule with some tweaks and changes. It's going to be weird seeing Tennessee and Florida play a game in late November as opposed to the heat of September and the SEC opener. But for Tennessee, who opens the SEC slate with Georgia 2 weeks after that Syracuse game in Atlanta, what to you, as we try to dissect a 3-man quarterback battle and work through early camp receiver injuries, what do you define success for Tennessee in 2025?
Probably much different from what Tennessee fans would think, but I'd say 8 wins. It's early yet, but you hear the earlier reports coming out of camp about very inconsistent performances by the offense and with the quarterbacks and receivers. But again, as you mentioned, they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, so they're not going to be consistent just by default. And that puts some concern in you, right? And so, man, we're not really going to probably get a good read on Tennessee until after the first 3 weeks of the season because they're breaking in some guys, right? And you're going to have a new quarterback out there. I mean, Josh Heupel, as we know, is practically going to be able to score points no matter what, but you just can't turn the ball over, right? And that's something that you got to keep down in a Heupel offense. And he's been able to do that most of his career. But if you're struggling at quarterback and you're also trying to get the chemistry going with your receivers, it's very difficult to do if a lot of them are injured for half of preseason camp. How do you translate that to when you go on the road, in the first month of the season? Very, very difficult ask.
Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports with us. You mentioned 8 wins, probably lower than what Tennessee fans would say. And I agree with you that it probably is. I don't think it necessarily should be, though, Brandon. I say this as a Tennessee alum. It's probably easy to say, yeah, you made the college football playoff. Of course, you have to take the next step. But to do that would be just ignoring so much context of what Tennessee went through in the offseason and the amount of, while talented, totally unproven commodities, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It's hard for me to fathom a Tennessee fan having that baseline expectation of anything more than 8 wins in 2025.
Yeah, if you look at the preseason expectations from the national media being number 24 in the AP preseason poll, number 24 team at the end of the season is usually 8-4 or so. So that's probably should be your expectation if you're a Tennessee fan. You don't want to hear that. Hopefully you can aim higher than that. But for all the reasons you just mentioned, 8 wins should kind of not necessarily be the goal. But if you're a fan and you don't have intimate involvement in preparing the team like a coach, they're not going to put a number on anything. As a fan, getting 8 wins should make you happy.
Which week 1 matchup do we learn more from? Texas versus Ohio State or LSU versus Clemson?
LSU, Clemson. Mostly because of this. I think we'll learn a lot more about LSU because LSU's lost their last 5 season openers. Just terrible, right? And a lot of those games have been big games, but they've also been at neutral sites. Now LSU's trying to break that 0-5 streak on the road at Clemson, and they've been doing a lot of jawing here in the offseason, labeling as Clemson as Death Valley Junior and all that stuff. I mean, listen, Brian Kelly has even said they're trying different things this preseason to kind of get their focus on this game and treat it as a huge, gigantic game, one of the biggest games of the season, which it is. And if that falls flat, and if LSU just comes out and loses, what is that going to do for their expectations for the year? And what's that going to do with the makeup of the team? Because they're putting so much effort and stressing so much about this first game, whereas in past years they were trying to go week to week. But man, goodness gracious, you go on the road and lose, that's big for LSU. If LSU wins, I think all of a sudden you're considering LSU maybe they're the team that challenges Texas to win the SEC title this season.
Well, and it's not even like a loss on the road against a top 5 Clemson team expected to be a contender would eliminate LSU from the playoff race, Brandon, but it does feel like such a do-or-die moment for Brian Kelly, doesn't it? Of all the SEC head coaches, Billy Napier, Hugh Freeze, Sam Pittman, that have to show something this year in this weird way, it still, to me, feels like Brian Kelly is the one that is at the most odds with his fan base at the moment. I don't know if I'm off base on that, but do you kind of get that feeling in any way?
A little bit. I don't think he's the most at odds, but I will say that, he's a coach that went into last year at the longest active streak of 10-win seasons. That didn't happen last year. They've been frustrating at times, very up and down during a season, underperforming against opponents at times. And then you consider just everything they're returning this year. You have a 4,000-yard passer in Garrett Nussmeier coming back. Someone's going to be in the Heisman Trophy race, at least in the preseason expectations. And you also hit big time in the transfer portal. They have one of the best, if not the best, transfer portal hauls in the entire country. And you thank Bryce Underwood for that, for, turning LSU down and, LSU being able to save like $10 million they can spend on the transfer portal elsewhere. So, I mean, yeah, all the pieces there are in place for LSU to contend for a championship. And if you don't contend for a championship this year under Brian Kelly, then it's a legitimate question of will you ever?
Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports has been our guest. Check out College Football Insiders for all the camp intel you need, as we are less than 2 weeks out from week 1. Brandon, thanks so much for the time, man. Appreciate you.
Anytime. Thanks.
At B Marcello is where you can follow him on Twitter. The last Saturday without college football this weekend. It's a beautiful sight to behold. Joint practice has wrapped up. We'll hear from a couple of Titans players and talk about Cam Ward. How much do we see from him in the preseason game this Friday? That's next on 104.5 The Zone. Tough day for the Titans in Flowery Branch. Falcons getting the better of, it seems, both Titans offense and defensive units. In day one of joint practice, there will be another day tomorrow, an opportunity to bounce back. We'll hear more from Buck coming up in the noon hour on what exactly took place down there ahead of Friday's preseason Week 2 matchup between Titans and Falcons. One positive is that Lloyd Cushenberry's back out there, the center, after an Achilles injury in November, passed his physical, activated off the physically unable to perform list yesterday, and he was on the practice field today. In fact, catching up with Titans reporters talking about his aim to return and when that is. This is Titans starting center Lloyd Cushenberry meeting with the media today after practice.
9 months, but good to be back out there, get my timing back, starting to work my way back.
What'd you do exactly today?
Just Indy, and a lot of running in between team periods, just trying to get my conditioning back to where it needs to be.
What's the next step?
Next step, probably just continue to do more Indy, and then go from there. Just work my way every day, just kind of day to day.
How long do you think that onboarding process, getting back will be for?
I'm not sure. I'm just listening to what training staff is telling me and what coach's plan is. So not 100% sure of the timeline, but I'm going to just work every day to get back.
So mentally, are you at a point where you're not even thinking about your Achilles?
Yeah, I think I'm fine. It's been a journey. It's been a long, tough 9 months. Football and in life. So I'm to the point where I'm just ready to get back to playing football.
Is your goal some of the other offensive linemen who've been through it around the league?
I haven't talked to him personally, but Elijah Vera Tucker, we have the same agent. So talking to my agent about his timeline and how his recovery went, kind of similar to mine. So I haven't talked to him personally, but he bounced back. So I look forward to doing the same.
What's the working dynamic been like for you, Lloyd?
Say again?
What's the working dynamic been like for you between Cam, you, and Corey, understanding, you're coming back at some point?
Oh, it's been great. Corey's been doing a phenomenal job. He's a vet. He's been around a while. So he's been doing a great job holding it down. And, Cam, they have great chemistry. And I have to come in and just try to work my way back in to get that chemistry with Cam, getting more snaps, and just trying to kind of earn my way back into the room. So, yeah, it's been great. They've been good, and they've welcomed me in back with open arms.
How hopeful are you?
So that is Titan center Lloyd Cushenberry. I don't think we caught in that clip his goal and when he wants to be back, and he said for the opener. For week 1, at the Denver Broncos, his former team, and honestly, I think it's a hat tip moment for a guy to work his way back from an injury of that significance, pushing around the big bodies that he pushes around for a living, and to work his way back from an Achilles in less than a year, and by that much of a margin, that's impressive stuff. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We are also on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. So a difficult day for the Titans, who have been on the road for almost a week now, but Titans go on some long road trips this season. So I understand the goal of the franchise to get this team acclimated to being away from home. Titans got to go to the West Coast to play Arizona, to play Vegas this season. Titans are playing the entirety of the AFC West and the NFC West, for that matter. So we'll see if they can bounce back tomorrow. We are confident that Cam Ward will play in the preseason game coming up on Friday. What we know is that Michael Penix will not, and Kirk Cousins may not. Cam Ward today ran into some stuff that I think is a positive. I think it's a good thing to see Cam, after accelerating his development for about a week, hit another roadblock because we have that second day of joint practice. I want to see the response from the rookie quarterback tomorrow, because the one thing you know about Cam is that his confidence isn't going to be shaken. The way that he approaches practice tomorrow in the preseason game on Friday will not be deterred based on what happened today. That's my biggest fascination, Bert, with Cam Ward throughout the course of training camp, is seeing what happens after the bad thing happens. Because it's something that for the last couple of years has been a huge issue for the Titans at the quarterback position. The spiral of one bad thing leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next. So that's my biggest fascination with what we see at tomorrow's joint practice. But overall today, it sounds like rough day, especially for the Titans defense going up against the Falcons offense. But I will repeat, once again, we didn't hear anything about the Titans offensive line today. Nothing.
No news is good news. Are you... I don't want to say this where it seems like I am also, but just flatly interested. Is it concerning to you that Cam seems like he's consistently throwing interceptions in these practices? Because I have a different view on it where it's like I'm kind of happy he's throwing these interceptions. To me, it feels like you're trying things, you're learning your limitations. I've seen a lot of people being like, oh, Cam throws another practice interception. Well, he didn't throw one in the game. Like, you know what I mean? I would rather him throw these things now and learn where you are able to put the ball, where you're able to fit it, what kind of routes you can throw to. So, like, I am not as upset about these practice interceptions as I've seen other people be.
It's a hard thing to walk that line and say, at what point is it indicative of what's to come, right? It's a really hard thing to do. It's an almost impossible thing to do. To take those preseason performances and training camp practices, joint practices, and try to mold it into some sort of baseline expectation for what the season's going to be. Because last year, we always bring up the example of that Seahawks joint practice and how things went in the 2-minute drill and how that ended up playing out throughout the course of the regular season. The Titans were a team that were outmatched in that joint practice, that turned the ball over and didn't give themselves a chance to have success. That's what happened in the regular season last year, especially as it pertains to the quarterback position. The expectation for Cam Ward, though, in 2025, the expectation for the Titans as a whole in 2025 is lower than it was in 2024. Like, let's remember, we were talking about the Titans as a playoff team in 2024. So how does that change the calculus of the way Titans fans react to this season? Last year felt like such a disaster, A, because they were 3-14. They were the worst team in the NFL. But also because nobody was prepared for 3-14. Not even close. And we don't have to go back over all the discussions that led up to last year. But Titans fans were blindsided by 3-14. With the year 2 leap that was expected from Levis, bringing in an offensive-minded coach and quarterback whisperer to work with them, the free agency class that they brought in, they were blindsided by it. The expectations being so much lower in 2025, in a weird way, the Titans have such a better opportunity to gain goodwill with the fan base. Because let's be honest, right now, this season, it's about building for the future, and it's about building back that goodwill for the fan base and getting people back in the stadium. I'd love to say this season's about making the playoffs again. I really would. And you know, stranger things have happened. But right now, it's hard to have that discussion with that baseline expectation of the Titans in 2025. So, to go back to your question about Cam Ward throwing interceptions in training camp practices, at what point does it cross that threshold of being concerning? I don't think it's happened to the point where it's concerning. I think it's happened to the point where it's been learning moments for the rookie quarterback that, to his credit, has been able to bounce back from the bad stuff so far. The poor practices that he strung together early on in camp, he followed up with his best week of camp, which was last week, culminating in an impressive preseason performance in week 1 against Tampa. Okay, and what is he doing bouncing back from today? That's what we still don't know. 615-737-1045. JJ in Nashville is next. Hey, JJ.
Hey, guys. Following up on the comment about Cam pushing the envelope in practice, I'm a lifelong musician and have done a lot of practicing. It's important to learn how to do a thing, which obviously he has done, but then you've got to push the envelope, push yourself, see how far, what are the limits, okay? Because if you practice slowly and carefully, you're going to play slowly and carefully, and your brain won't respond well to pressure, okay? But if you'll push that envelope and find out how far, what you can get away with, how far you can push it, then in the routine, normal tempo of a game, things kind of slow down and seem easy. And if the pressure's on and your heart's pounding, you've done that. You've practiced that. You've taken the risks. That's my comment. Thanks.
Thanks for the call, JJ. Right on the money, too. 60-second mark. Sticking the landing. I think it's a great call. It's the same thing that's happening right now in Tennessee, in Knoxville, with the 3-man quarterback battle First scrimmage last Saturday, offense struggled. Pick 6 by Joey Aguilar. By all reports, the defense won the day. But Tennessee, the Vols, are in a similar position right now, trying to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. Titans know who their quarterback's going to be, but they're trying to figure out what they have. Where it's like, dude, rip it. Get out there and rip it, and we can scale back from there. So I don't think we're to the point where we have to start talking about interceptions and mistakes from Cam in training camp being this sort of long-term concern, because those are going to happen in the season too. What we still don't know about Cam is what his developmental path is going to be, and that's what this season's going to tell us. Is he going to find a spot where he accelerates around that midseason point? Is it going to be more of a long, drawn-out type of process for Cam Ward? We don't know that yet, and a lot of it depends on his surroundings, not just offensively, by the way, but defensively. If the Titans are tasked with scoring 30 points every game to even have a chance to win, I don't know that that's going to be the case, but it's something that is a variable for Cam Ward's rookie year, certainly something he's got experience with how dreadful his defense was in Miami last year, so he would at least be used to that. Speaking of Cam Ward, Marcus Spears of ESPN had a very interesting comparison for the Titans rookie quarterback after watching him in the preseason last Saturday. We'll tell you what that is. Plus, Buck and Jason Fitz checking in as we get more updates from joint practice in Atlanta coming up next.
Trajan Wealth is here to help you like they've helped so many other clients achieve that financial independence, achieve that peace of mind that comes with financial independence, how important that can be. As a veteran, Trajan Wealth CEO Jeff Jr. fully appreciates the importance of true independence. He founded Trajan Wealth as an independent firm, allowing fiduciary advisors the ability to customize a portfolio to meet your unique goals and needs. Call Trajan Wealth to discuss options for achieving that financial independence today. There are 2 locations here in Middle Tennessee, Brentwood and Franklin. Their number is 615-270-5000. That's 615-270-5000. And visit them online at TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. This is a paid advertisement.
What's going on? Noon 02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Titans wrapped up joint training camp with the Falcons today, but made a few roster moves in the early Tuesday morning, including signing a pair of linebackers. The team signed Khaleke Hudson and Blake Lynch, while waiving linebacker David Benda and waiving injured linebacker Anthony Orji. There's a holdout seemingly starting overnight in Pittsburgh, as Cam Hayward, who signed a 3-year, $45 million deal last offseason, has informed the Steelers he wants a new contract, and he has no problem missing regular games until he gets one. On the other side of that coin, a holdout is over for the brighter side of Bills fans. Running back James Cook is practicing for the first time after tying his 16 rushing touchdowns last season. For all your foundation repair and your waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Tomorrow will be about cleaning up today for the Tennessee Titans down in Atlanta. Joint practice with the Falcons, going more of the Falcons' way. Today, it sounds like we'll get actual boots on the ground reporting on it coming up in the next segment when Buck joins the show. Jason Fitz, also set to hop on of Yahoo Sports. Looking forward to hearing his perspective. Much more of a national view on the Titans, of a guy that obviously has plenty of local ties to Nashville, because the Cam Ward national discussion is a fascinating one to me. And I promise this is not me setting up a segment about how Cam Ward's not talked about. I have no interest in doing that. But Marcus Spears of ESPN had an interesting comparison for Cam Ward. Feels like we've heard every comparison under the sun for the Titans rookie quarterback. And this was Spears on NFL Live, or NFL Nation, NFL Live, right? After the Titans preseason week 1 matchup against the Buccaneers.
I know he was the first overall pick, but the Titans have found their franchise quarterback. And Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a little bit of Jordan Love in Cam Ward.
Sure.
I saw a little bit of that ability to throw the ball kind of unorthodox. The mechanics aren't necessarily perfect, but you can see the talent. But the most important thing that I saw in this game, and what I look for rookies in preseason, is poise. I didn't see him really panic at all during this game. You don't know going into your first NFL game what the speed is going to be like. You don't have an idea of what the defenses are going to do. Are they going to hold back? Are they going to try to pressure and blitz the quarterback? It never seemed like he was out of sorts. I got to give my big dog Woody some credit, because he already mentioned it. The offensive line did a really good job. But we've even seen rookies behind offensive linemen that have time. I watched Dan do tape after tape after tape and ask the question, why is the youngster bailing already?
Yeah.
Why is he starting to lead the pocket already? I didn't see that with Cam Ward. That was the thing that I enjoyed about watching him, was the command. And he plays, y'all, I don't know if y'all felt it, he plays with a confidence, and we talked about it in college. You don't know how it's going to translate when you get to the NFL.
Yeah.
It looked the exact same when he was at Miami, as far as just the confidence and feeling like I can make any play I want to on the field right now.
So that's Marcus Spears talking about the Titans rookie quarterback. Just glowing, effusive praise for Cam Ward's performance. 5 of 8, 67 yards, leading a touchdown drive, a quarterback rating of just over 86. And it's not that, I disagree with any of those things. I thought Cam Ward looked comfortable and looked poised. Marcus Spears leading that was saying Titans have their franchise quarterback. We don't know that yet. That's just a fact. But the signs have been encouraging. That's all you can ask for at this point in preseason and training camp, is that the signs are encouraging. And that is so for Cam Ward. We've seen those signs be a plus, and it continue to go in that direction with quarterbacks. We've seen those signs be there, and it go the total opposite direction with the quarterback. But one thing, Robert, that just I find so interesting about this Cam Ward thing. So we've talked about this. I mean, national voices will come out and say he's the most under-discussed number 1 overall pick at quarterback in NFL history, right? NFL Network didn't even air the Titans preseason game on Saturday for the number 1 overall pick. And this is not me here to complain about that. But it is me here to point out that he doesn't really get discussed. He's not really leading these discussions. NFL Network won't even air those games. But when he does, this dude's being crowned. Isn't it strange? Like the few times we do see that spotlight on Cam, from the Marcus Spears and the Dan Orlovskis and the Louis Riddicks of the world, they are glowing about this guy. It's just, I don't know. It's fascinating to me.
That's a great point. I'm trying to think of someone who has poo-pooed him in this process. I mean, like, I don't think he's going to be that good. Like, all the smart people and Marcus Spears are saying that he...
Stop. What is that shot at Marcus? What do you got against
the other
Marcus
two guys
Spears?
are offensive guys, and I feel like their word can be taken, like, well, or I guess Louis Riddick isn't, but I don't know. I digress off of Spears. But I need to find, where are the Cam haters? I need to hear some hate,
They're
man.
nowhere to be found, man. I mean, look at this draft class. Jackson Dart, there are doubts there. He's coming from that Lane Kiffin offense. How does it translate? He's in a place that doesn't necessarily set up quarterbacks for success as of late.
Maybe that's the Joe Burrow comparison. He is the most unanimously liked quarterback since Joe Burrow.
Ooh,
because
whoa.
who is the
Was Caleb Williams not that? Bryce Young,
No,
too small, right?
because-
Like, you could find the Bryce Young haters.
Right.
But what about Caleb Williams?
I mean, are you kidding me? He didn't do the press conference. He painted his nails.
Right,
People
right.
were dressing him down any opportunity they had.
Yeah. Shedeur Sanders, right? Same thing. A lot of issues with Shedeur and that negativity. Obviously, the league echoed it in the NFL draft. Shedeur Sanders, who, it's a preseason game, but like we saw on Friday, he's not a fifth-round talent, right? Like, he's better than a fifth-round talent. We saw that, but clearly there was something that impacted Shedeur Sanders that forced him to fall to the fifth round. But you're right. Because at one point, Bert, this quarterback class there was no surefire thing in this quarterback class. It was Cam and Shedeur neck and neck. Has it been since the combine, where teams got a chance to sit down with him and maybe started to talk to people about his mental makeup, that has just gone totally in the direction of, this dude has got it? Which, again, like M-Boy on the F&M Bank chat says, Lucas talked too soon. He's on national TV 2 times. Yes, he will be on national TV these next 2 preseason games. You're right. But I maintain that he is, A, the most under-discussed quarterback with the number 1 pick, and B, when he is discussed, people are in love with him. Smart people, football people. I don't know the last time that was the case.
I will effort getting Mel Kiper on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Because he famously a Shedeur lover.
Oh, do we have a Cam hater?
Right. Could he potentially be the hater that we need? Because there needs to be fire to the flame, right? I mean, you hear Titans fans all the time, we play better as underdogs. We like being underdogs. Well, if everyone unanimously likes your quarterback, like, you need someone to be like, or what did Dion say that one time? I don't think Kevin Byard's that good, or whatever. You need somebody.
He didn't know who he was.
He did. I don't even know who that is.
He was like, you stay a fan, I'll stay the man. Something along those lines. And KB's like, I'm a multi-time all-pro safety. it was Dion talking to KB like he was just some dude on Twitter.
We need a guy like that. We need a guy to all rabble-rouse against when they say something like that. So I will be on the lookout for Cam's number 1 hater.
Okay. All right. Like, that is, again, we challenge anybody to show us a Cam Ward hater. They're not really out there
or
right
call
now.
us up, 615-737-1045. But you did get a call, Lucas. Earlier in the show, you asked a question.
I did.
Why do stock cars not have doors?
Let's find out from Bobby in Nashville. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, hi, guys. First and foremost is a safety thing. NASCAR requires that all stock cars have a unibody roll cage, which goes right through where the door would be. 2, all stock cars must weigh exactly the same, between 2,200 and 2,300 pounds. So they have to shave weight somewhere. Door hinges and knobs and all that would be a place to shave weight.
Bobby dropping the knowledge.
I love that.
Okay.
It's a smart name, man.
So more NASCAR drivers will be breaking collarbones, falling out of their stock cars after a win, is what I'm taking from that.
Oh, no, they'll probably just put a cage underneath it, like the nets that protect things from falling off of roller coasters.
Give them like a little mattress or safety net to fall into.
Right before the NASCAR drivers get out of the car, they put that a big pillow down, a big dog bed, and from beside the car so they don't break their collarbone.
But so the Marcus Spears comp was to Jordan Love. So can we start to rattle off what comps we've seen for Cam? Now that's Jordan Love to the mix. Steve McNair was one that was brought up earlier. And Pat Mahomes. famously has been one brought up for Cam. Any that I'm missing?
How do we get the most beside the point comparisons made? Like, how do we get someone to go, he's got some Brock Purdy in his game? I see a little bit of Kyler Murray. Like, I need this.
I've heard some of Kyler Murray. Hell, Nate Tice of Yahoo Sports came on here and compared him to Rodney Mullen, the skateboarder. So we've got the outside the box ones. But I don't know, man. It just fascinates me. The Cam Ward national discussion, the way it is so on both sides of the spectrum, not even on love and hate, but love or ignored. That's it. You either love the guy and think he's the Titans franchise quarterback, or you're just not talking about him. It's just a fascinating thing to me. We do have one national voice coming up on the other side, and Jason Fitz. He'll join us along with Buck from Atlanta as we continue to react to Titans and Falcons joint practice. That's next on 104.5 The Zone.
Erectile dysfunction can wreck your confidence. It can impact your relationship, your mental health, and even your sense of identity. But there is good news. There's real help. Since 2014, the Tennessee Men's Clinic has helped thousands of guys get back to feeling like themselves. First in Midtown, before it was called Midtown, then in Cool Springs, and now in Clarksville. No matter where you are in Middle Tennessee, expert care is close by. These aren't cookie-cutter solutions. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is urology-based and staffed with multiple licensed providers who specialize in men's sexual health issues. They have proven treatments tailored to your specific situation. No one size fits all. So whether you're dealing with mild or moderate ED, performance issues, or even conditions like Peyronie's disease, their medical team will work with you to create a plan that gets results, often with options most men didn't even know exist. So call the Tennessee Men's Clinic today at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
So we pause in our Cam Ward comparison programming to get some actual information on what happened out at joint practice today, although Buck was late to practice. So I don't know how much he actually got to see or how much we're going to actually get from this discussion as he joins us here in just a second. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or you just want to tell Robert you love him, 615-737-1045. We are, of course, on 1045 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Do we have you? Yeah. Okay. What happened out there?
They were not very good. It was a bad day of practice. They looked like a tired football team that's been on the road for 6 days. Cam Ward throws interceptable passes or interceptions anytime he's not targeting Calvin Ridley, it would seem, and the defense got picked apart by Drake London, Michael Penix.
Okay, that sums it up pretty succinctly. So, I mean, let's focus in on Cam Ward because
that's what it was, man. It was pretty low energy. And listen, I don't think the Falcons look like anything special in particular today. And your boy James Pierce is suspect at best, and not just because of one joint training camp practice that I watched. I was talking to some people that cover the Falcons. Apparently not a glowing review for him going up against backup tackles in the preseason game. But, you know, the usual suspects I thought performed well in Jeff Simmons and Calvin Ridley. But beyond that, it just they did not look like they had much life to them. And Jarvis Brownlee, I don't know if you've seen any of the where the video was very limited because the Falcons allow 90 seconds of video, either practice or interview, a day. It's a crazy media policy, and it sounds like it may be coming to a football team near you, based on my understanding. But Jarvis Brownlee called it BS, and he didn't make it the FCC safe version. The level of energy, the level of intensity that was had today at practice. Jeff Simmons took a much more measured approach when we talked to him after practice today, saying, you know, it's joint training camp practice, learning opportunities from anything or from everything. But he did also note that they were repeating a lot of the same lines that they were giving us last year as they were going 3-14. So.
Well, I mean, I'll push back on that a little bit. I mean, one of the lines from Jarvis Brownlee Jr. last year after the Commanders loss was that it was cold out there and it affected their play. So I much prefer him saying, no, we're not going to use the travel in between Tampa and Atlanta as an excuse.
Yeah, listen. Jarvis is wise beyond his years, and he's got a lot of he's got the right approach and attitude, and obviously he's a very physical player on the field. So you're looking for your guys, your guys who you're going to be looking at all season long to make plays for you, to make those plays in practice as well, to give the team reason to have that level of urgency, that level of intensity that we've talked about with Brett Kern and talked about prior to them going on the road to Tampa. But I mean, it depends. It really, honestly, Lucas, it depends on how much grace you want to give them, because they do look like they've been on the road for 6 days, and they're halfway through this road trip, and the players are, you know, on out of their routine. The coaching staff is actively trying to make them as uncomfortable as humanly possible to kind of have to make them work through some of this adversity. We'll see what the dividends of that end up looking like throughout the course of the season. But, you know, it's not just the players. It's the coaches. It's the support staff. School started in the last couple of weeks, and everybody's away from their families right now. I know that's tough. So if you want to make, or if you want to have explanations about why they might look a little sluggish today, without passing too harsh of judgment, I suppose you could do that and see how they rebound tomorrow, because they will have another day of joint training camp practice tomorrow. But if you want to be more hard-lined with it, you would look around and say, yeah, but your professional football players go out there and perform, and they didn't perform well today.
Buck checking in from his hotel room in Atlanta after the joint practice between Titans and Falcons. So we know it was a tough day for the defense. I do want to talk about that and what led to that. But we have to start in the obvious place, and that's Cam Ward. We just played some audio from Marcus Spears on ESPN comparing him to Jordan Love. So we've kind of been playing this game with the audience to see how many Cam Ward comparisons we can drum up. We've seen Jordan Love. We've seen, obviously, Steve McNair. We've seen Pat Mahomes. And we're just getting kind of crazy with it. Maybe a dash of T.J. Yates in there. Just throw out X random quarterback that you can compare Cam Ward to. But all that aside, he was on the practice field today.
T.J. Yates is crazy. Who's calling him T.J. Yates?
Maybe a little spritz of Kyle Orton. We're just being facetious at this point because every quarterback under the sun has been compared to Cam at one way or another. But his performance today on the practice field doesn't sound like the Falcons' pass rush was necessarily getting home. You mentioned James Pierce Jr. underwhelming. Good to hear that the Titans' offensive line wasn't a talking point. So what were some of the pros, what were some of the cons from Cam Ward and the Titans' offense before we talk about defense?
Yeah, I mean, with Cam in the offense, I'm not worried about him and Ridley. It's him when he's targeting other people. It's him when he's under duress and making plays that he can get away with in college, but he can't get away with in the pros. It's kind of the same stuff we've been talking about throughout the course of the last couple of months. He threw, like I said, an interceptable pass today that the defensive back dropped. He then threw an interception to a safety where Alec Iamaner, I guess, was in the general vicinity, but didn't look particularly close on that play. And when he's working through some of this stuff, Lucas, Cam Ward's demeanor is absolutely a plus because he is the same person down in, down out, whether we're in Tampa, whether we're in Nashville, whether it's a preseason game or a joint training camp practice. And I call back to, though, something that, was it Brian Callahan that said he can almost be dismissive of some of the mistakes that he makes and things like that. I can't remember the exact phrasing, but that was a talking point at some point in the last couple of weeks. And I look at his footwork, which could stand to improve, and I'm not speaking as any kind of quarterback expert, but listening to expert analysis and seeing people break down Cam Ward's play and his style and how he goes about trying to almost, I don't want to say overcompensate for a less than ideal footwork situation, because he's got arm talent, right? He's got a live arm, and he can make a lot of throws from a lot of different angles. And maybe it's not, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or anything like that, but he's still yet unrefined as far as the mechanics that they need him to get down. This is a precision position, and technique is paramount for all players in the NFL, because your technique is going to give you the best chance to succeed beyond your physical talent. He still has plenty of technique stuff to improve upon, and I think some of the interceptions that he's throwing, some of the different things that he's trying where he's more, he's just used to working off script as opposed to working within the structure of the play. That's just the stuff that has to be cleaned up. I'm not worried about him necessarily, but the interceptions do tend to happen a lot in the middle of.
And he's gone. Okay, wondered how long it would take for that to happen. He was
that we've noticed where Cody Barton is recognizing plays. What? Am I dropping in and out?
Yeah, there's a delay when I talk to you. You're a little bit garbly with your voice, and you just dropped off for about 5 seconds.
Okay, well, long story short, I'm not worried about Cam Ward, but he's got to clean up a lot. That's not funny. Rude.
This is going great.
Yeah, I know.
This is going great. I'm very glad Jason Fitz is not here. He'll be on the show next week, so he doesn't have to be a part of this game of cat and mouse.
I'm going to clip you saying, I'm glad Jason Fitz is not here to play next week.
Okay, well, that just feels like a stab in the back. Buck Rising checking in from his hotel room in Atlanta. All right, that's Cam Ward. We'll see how much he can bounce back tomorrow. Defensively, what was the big issue today? Because it seems like Michael Penix had a day. Seems like the Titans pass rush struggled to get home. And overall, the Falcons offense probably feeling good about itself in the aftermath of practice.
Yeah, their corner depth's bad, and they need L'Jarius Sneed. It's the thing that we've talked about ad nauseum at this point. They don't have good depth at their corner spots, and, Darrell Baker Jr. survived last season fine, but that doesn't mean that he's somebody you want to lean on. And the other part of this is Drake London, they kept splitting Bijan Robinson out wide, or motioning him out wide, and then just hitting Drake London in the middle of the field because somebody would trail with Bijan Robinson, and the Drake London would get open in basically the same way almost every time. And I wasn't, not just an observation from me, but talking to Tehran about that specifically as we watched the way that the Falcons were picking apart the Titans defense. They just kept hitting him in the middle of the field over and over and over again. He's a 6'5" wide receiver. He's tough to stop. So if you don't have pass rush, by the way, very underwhelming with Femi Oladejo, and that's a continued trend coming out of the preseason game. You need more impact from him. I don't know if it's fair or what's fair for as we talk about development and technique stuff that they still have to learn, but I come away from these practices wanting more from him even though I understand he's a developmental pick at a position that is not his original position, I still think it's fair to hold him to a standard of a second-round pick that should have more of an immediate impact. I think he lacks burst right now, and people talk a lot about his physique. I don't know how much of that is him trying to bulk up because he's going to play on the line of scrimmage, coming into the pros, understanding that they're going to move him down close to the line of scrimmage, and that he's going to need to play and bang around there with tackles and guards a little more than he might otherwise as an off-ball linebacker, but. The functional mobility is something that I'm curious to talk to Brian Callahan about tomorrow, because he doesn't seem to move well given his size. And I know people tend to marvel at his physique because he's built like a superhero. But if it's not functional mobility to go along with that size, then, I think there may need to be an adjustment there.
Yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of the discussion around him. Like, what is fair, what isn't fair to expect of a guy that has been playing the position for less than a year to make an impact as he goes up a level at outside linebacker. We already had the discussion before training camp. For the Titans to have anything resembling a respectable pass rush, Femi Oladejo would have to be way ahead of schedule, right? So is it that he's just not giving them enough? Is it that he is on schedule, but that in and of itself is not enough for what they do or don't have in the pass rush?
He's a developmental player on a bad football team, and that's a reality that people are going to have a hard time coming to terms with, because they're going to see second-round pick and be like, all right, why aren't you as good as X second-round pick on whatever team that's making more of an impact elsewhere? I think you have to keep the context of what this football team is in your mind, and even though you're excited about a bunch of different things, and you like Femi because he's a fun talker and a hard worker, and I think he intends to improve. It's not like he's slacking off back there or anything like that. He's just, all of this is going to take some time before it's more functionally competitive the way against a team like the Buccaneers, who are a division winner, against a team like the Falcons that are probably the second best team in their division right now, and it's still a stinky division in the NFC South, but that's an 8-win football team, 8-9-win football team you're probably up against in these joint training camp practices this week, and you're not that. Like, you're just, I don't want to urinate on people's parade before the thing even gets going, but I just think it's so important to keep the context in mind of where you were last year, who you're leaning on to help dig you out of it, and how much longer that might actually take than you want it to.
Yeah, and not to sit here and just make any blanket projections on, hey, defense just isn't going to be up for it this season. Like, they can make signings, we're still 3 weeks out from week 1, but sure. The reality of it is Denard Wilson could be a great defensive mind. Like, in 10 years, Denard Wilson could be the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. Who knows? But even then, if you don't have a lot of juice with the personnel in your pass rush, it feels like there's such a ceiling on what you can be as a defense, and that's what I worry about with this team and how it could affect the quarterback, who, as we were talking about earlier, Robert and I, Cam Ward, plenty familiar with playing on a team where the defense is telling him, hey, you got to go put up 40, bud, or we don't really have a chance to win this game. I wonder at what point do we have to start to consider the effect that the Titans' defense, their lack of an ability to get to the quarterback, the type of situations that could set up for Cam Ward and what the weight that he's going to have to shoulder this season.
You can't fix it all, right? I mean, and we knew that coming in. Like, pick your poison. What are you gonna try and get right first? And they went into the offseason focused on the trenches, and the priority in the trenches was the offensive line, and that's there to support the young quarterback. And okay, they're taking steps in the right direction that way. Can they get something more above expectation on defense with a couple of pieces and parts that you think might be viable or might have promise, but are going to take some time before they turn into real life NFL football players? I don't know. Because I feel like we're just going to repeat this all year long and people are going to get sick of it. But what else is there to say about that when you are trying to build this thing correctly and trying to make sure that you don't, get antsy because you're a coaching staff that's fighting for their jobs, and they are, absolutely. You're a front office that is cognizant of that, but you work for an organization that has a quick trigger That's no secret to anybody, no matter how many times they repeat that everybody's on the same page. That's fine until they're not. You just don't want to get into a situation where you're pressing as an organization or as a front office to try and throw a bunch of different options at the thing because you think, all right, just more bodies, more signings, more players, more, bigger contracts for players that may be tier 2 at best in Calvin Ridley or Kenneth Murray or, any of the names that we've talked about over and over and over again. Like just trying to throw different answers at the problem without really taking the time to dig in on, okay, can we be this level of patient? Can we afford this level of patience because we know that this is the right thing to do? I fully believe that Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, who come from the Chiefs and the Packers respectively, believe in that. And I think that there's going to be a lot more scrutiny on Brian Callahan first and foremost because of the nature of a number 1 overall pick at quarterback. And if the offense struggles beyond just Cam, then he's probably going to be a talking point. I think the thing that I've talked about, and it's a general theme, and you've pushed back on me, rightfully so, because you could talk about it in any situation, really, with a team like this one where, things could get bad enough to get the coach fired, and that be bad long term for the viability of their success. Because every year that you turn this thing over, you basically reset the board. Even if you some of these pieces and parts, some of the players in particular have carryover, you cannot continue to get caught in this cycle where you get dissatisfied or you get impatient and you rip the plug out of the wall and say, all right, or you rip the game out of the console. I mean, people don't blow on the console or the cartridge anymore. That's 100 years old as far as getting a video game to work after it's stalled out or had an error or something like that. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we see coaches stick around on rare occasions, but let's say after back-to-back seasons with that type of record, we saw it with Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, and, let's talk about it here in Nashville with the Predators, right? Like, to keep a coach around after the results are so poor, you have to have an extreme level of confidence in said coach. Barry Trotz clearly has that in Andrew Burnett, right? The Bengals clearly had that in Zach Taylor. Now, whether that's just confidence or them just not wanting to make a move and spend the money on it, conversation for another day. But that's the ultimate question here for the Titans. If this season is going to be closer to what we believe it'll be, what is that confidence level that Brian Callahan is the guy and that he was just hamstrung by certain areas of this roster that, in an honest moment, when we talk, it just is what it is in some spots. Like, they're just not going to have enough in certain key areas. It will contribute to them losing some games.
So I guess we can only use what information we have had in the past, even though some of the pieces are different, some of the coaches are different, to inform how this thing could go. Do you think, and I understand that we don't know her, and she doesn't allow people to get to know her, but it all comes back to Amy Adams Strunk at the end of the day. In the precedent that she has set, though, does she strike you as an owner that is going to be okay with, Amy, it just is what it is. I mean, the roster is what it is. We're working on this because I think that if, beyond Mike Vrabel's less than diplomatic tendencies, I think it would be very easy for Mike and company to turn around and be like, Amy, have you seen what John has put around us in the last couple of years? Like, we're doing the best we can with what we've got, and that's 6 wins this year. And again, there are mitigating factors that led to that staff's firing, and there is stubbornness on the part of the coaching staff that led to their firing. Like, this is not just a one-sided thing, but ultimately, all we can do is look at what's happened in the past and say, do we believe that Amy Adams Strunk is going to be satisfied with, Amy, it just is what it is this year, and we're doing our best, and we think Cam's making progress. And we like that Kevin Winston. We think he can be a focal point for our defense for years to come. We think that he's going to be somebody who works well into Nard Wilson's system. And we've still got Jeff and this, that, and the other. And she can turn around, look at the record, and be like, yeah, but okay, you lose. Because all she keeps talking about is, well, it's not good enough to win more games than you lose. And they don't win games anymore. So, I feel like I'm in reruns, Lucas. And it makes me insane. And I'm sure it makes the audience insane. But that's really what this comes down to at the end of the day. And it's not just because of one lackluster practice, right? This theme is going to arch over the entire season. Everything that we talk about is going to be run through this prism first and foremost, because it is an evaluation of everybody by the person who is the least subject to evaluation externally, which is Amy Adams Strunk.
We'll talk about what we want to see from the Titans at joint practice tomorrow and finish out the show with some polls. 615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls as we wrap things up next. One down, one to go of joint practice with the Atlanta Falcons. Tomorrow we'll be in pursuit of a bounce-back day for the Titans, especially defensively. Buck is checking in from Atlanta, Georgia, or just outside of it in his hotel room. Robert and myself here at Network Control until 1 o'clock, where Blaine and Zach will take the baton. But as we wrap things up, Buck, what are you looking to see from the Titans tomorrow on the practice field? Like, where are your eyes going to be tomorrow? First things, or to start things off after a rough day today?
Thought they held up well in run defense, which is obviously a talking point coming out of the preseason game, but I'd like to see them make some plays against the pass, both, sacks that they can't actually get because it's a practice, but things that would be sacks, the way that the Falcons were able to do today against the Titans, and better pass defense in general. They need to bounce back. They can't just let Drake London exist in the middle of the field, box them out, and, catch passes for first downs on 1st and 10. It's not acceptable, and I think Jarvis Brownlee felt that as much as anybody today. And that's not solely his responsibility. Like, he wasn't matched up in man on Drake London the entire time, but still, go out there, make some plays. Just they just looked a bit, what's the word? They just looked a bit like down. I don't know. They are tired or sluggish or whatever the word is. Like, I know that people got on me and you got on me about talking about juice at practice and needing a bit more energy and stuff like that. But, like, there's got to be a level of intensity out there, especially in this joint work, especially if the starters aren't going to play as much in the preseason games. Like, this is your opportunity to get those reps in. And I know that it's hard to go on a road for 10 straight days and all these different things and be away from family and be out of your routine, which is critical to athlete success. But, like, this is by design. Overcome it. Show that you are capable of overcoming adversity. And then on the offensive side of the ball, like, Cam's decision-making, which is very, very broad, but some of these throws that he's making are risky, and practice is designed to allow him to test it. So when he gets in a game, he's more comfortable and able to operate more routinely. But, even in the preseason game, he put the ball in harm's way, and the DB just flat out dropped it with 2 hands on it. There is going to come a time when that is unacceptable, and that time is drawing nearer and nearer when he goes on the road and faces Pat Surtain and Jahdae Barron and the best sack defense in football last year. Also, given that the starting offensive line, Lloyd Cushenberry wasn't out there with them doing team. He was doing individual stuff, cleared from PUP or activated from PUP. I believe that was, last night at some point. This was not a strong pass protection day, and that is not a vaunted Falcons defense. They have invested a ton of resources into that pass rush and that defense specifically in this draft, but I don't know. I think the Falcons came out with the intent to kick somebody's ass today, and they got that done. Go kick somebody's ass tomorrow if you're the Titans. Respond.
Is there any merit to a little scuttlebutt that you may have been late to practice today?
Yeah, no, I was for sure late to practice today. It was an overturned semi on the...
Yes. Blame it on the semi.
Overturned semi.
Yes. See, he applied the same practice spurt. What I imagine happened is, because when Buck gets to the studio, he leaves no room for even a red light. Like, if there's a red light, if there's some slow traffic, construction, he will be late. I believe you applied that to Atlanta, Georgia, which is the most traffic nightmare city I think I've ever been in my life, maybe with the exception of L.A. And so the thing that probably was always going to happen to you happened to you. And I'm guessing you missed a good portion of practice.
No, I missed...
That's making your trip there a total waste of time.
A couple of reps of 7-on-7 was about all that I missed in some stretch. So that's all well and good.
Yes.
Sure.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Let's do some polls.
I think my connection dipped out in the middle of that. Did Robert say something smart-ass to me?
You'll never know. Presented by Two Rivers Ford,
won't.
the South's most trusted Ford dealer. What in sports made you say, oh no, this weekend? Sawyer says Tommy Fleetwood choking again. I must say, I did not keep up with whatever golf tournament was happening over the weekend, but many people have submitted, including Tyler, the NASCAR driver that broke his collarbone trying to celebrate after a win.
PK showed me that in the press box in Tampa. That was very, very oh no. Don't get your legs caught up in the netting.
Yeah, brutal. Mike Titan says CeeDee Lamb getting leveled by an official. That was Robert's submission.
It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, the worst part is CeeDee getting up like somebody did him wrong there. Like arms outstretched. He was all angry about it like he wasn't the one on the damn sideline. Which rookie quarterback had the best preseason debut? 42.9% say Shedeur Sanders. 33.3% second, go to Cam Ward. 19% say Jackson Dart. Only 4.8% say Tyler Shuck.
I just don't think as many people watch Tyler Shuck. I mean,
he was solid.
Yeah, you guys might have a different perspective, but
Pick
I watched.
Six was bad.
Pick six was bad, but then again, you want to talk about a response? Tyler Shuck responded on the very next drive. To his credit, so I would probably put Shuck above Cam. I haven't seen all of Jackson Dart yet, but it sounded like he did some good things.
Yeah, according to Brian Dable, he did everything they expected him to do. We'll see if Tyler Shuck gets the start for the Saints this week. Saints play the Jags on Sunday. That feels like a situation where if you're the Saints, you would love for Tyler Shuck to go ahead and win that job.
Yeah, I mean, what else are you going to do, bud? You're going to call the Falcons about Kirk Cousins? He is toast based on today's practice.
Shuck or Rattler, it would seem. Why? What happened with Kirk Cousins today?
No, he just looks bad.
Okay.
He's an old man.
He might not play Friday. I mean, we might get Easton Stick for 3 quarters on Friday.
Can't wait.
How many college football teams can win a national title feasibly in 2025? Put the over-under at 7.5 on this poll, which you can vote at Lucas Panzica. 83.6% take the under. Brandon Marcello of CBS Sports was on here in the 11 o'clock hour. He said 9 teams that he could feasibly see with a path to winning a national title.
Who were yours?
I had 8. I'm not sure where the cutoff is. Maybe Marcello has Notre Dame or Oregon. I'm iffy on both of those. I definitely have Alabama and LSU.
Did he have Ohio State in there?
We didn't get into the specifics, but basically 9 of the top 10. I imagine every team in the top 10 outside of Miami is who Brandon Marcello has as feasible national championship contenders this year. And I mean, it's between 7 and 9. It feels like you can make a case for almost the entire top 10. Did we lose him, or is he just that speechless over there?
No, I'm here.
Oh,
okay.
I'm here. Do you want Cam Ward to play in all 3 preseason games? 93.3% say yes. It seems like he will, but it is the second straight week of the Titans playing a team that will not play their starter and maybe even not their backup in the preseason game.
Should be some ugly football. Can't wait.
Do you think we see J.J. McCarthy next week in Nashville? Are we going to get one starting quarterback on the opposing sideline?
I do actually think we'll see J.J. McCarthy because he needs reps more than anything. It's kind of like a Cam Ward. This is basically his rookie year. It is his rookie year.
Yeah. Okay. But Cam Ward.
Not like a Will Levis rookie year.
Yeah. Nah, like an actual rookie year. But Callahan has said it too, right? Like we expect Cam Ward to play in all 3.
He'll speak tomorrow and there will be confirmation, but yeah, they are going to play Cam Ward.
So Brian Callahan will speak tomorrow morning before practice, before we go on the air. Cam is set to speak tomorrow, yes? Do we get with these new rules that the Falcons are bringing down on you guys? Do we get live stream of press conference? Do we get to carry the quarterback talking tomorrow?
You will get live stream, but you will not get video from us, which, I suppose a live stream is more important than anything.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll hear from the quarterback tomorrow. Those are the polls. We'll talk to you tomorrow from Flowery Branch.
All right, boys. Good work.
And that's the show. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Blaine and Zach, cover 2, got you covered. Coming up next on 104.5 The Zone.